Turnkey.pro. Turnkey, the champion of small business.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be partly sunny with a late afternoon thunderstorm possible, reaching a high of 85. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies and humidity with a chance of a thunderstorm, dropping to a low of 69. Tomorrow, anticipate partly sunny conditions with humidity and a chance of afternoon thunderstorms in spots with a high of 84. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning. This is Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer. Still getting used to it. Anyway, we begin today's program where we left off yesterday, and that's talking about the catastrophic flooding in Texas, mainly in Kerr County, where the death toll is now, unfortunately, up to 104, at least last report I saw. Before we have to delve into the dismal, those who would use tragedies to play their venal politics, we tried to bring some stories yesterday about both kids as well as adults that behaved heroically and provided information to the outside once they were able to secure safety. But the story, too, that's making the rounds, because he's been making the rounds, this Coast Guard rescue swimmer, Scott Ruskin, who is on his first mission and is just a couple of years removed from being a KPMG accountant, I guess, in corporate America. Scott Ruskin is credited, along with his colleagues, who he is quick to give credit to, you know, the humility you get with people that are first responders and in the military, the recognition that, I'm just a dude, and if another one of my comrades in arms was in the same position I was in, he would have done the same thing that I'm now being heralded for. And that's exactly what you got from Scott Ruskin. But he did provide a lot of detail, particularly with respect to that Camp Mystic, where a number of kids who were at that camp lost their lives. Take a listen to Scott Ruskin's description of what he encountered and what he and his fellow Coast Guard members did in response.
The Coast Guard launched us and decided to send a rescue crew from Air Station Corpus Christi at about 6:30, 7 a.m. on Friday, the 4th of July. I just happened to be on the duty crew with Ian Hopper, Blair Rougefort, Seth Reeves, some of our crew members in the Coast Guard. And they sent us out. We kind of encountered some pretty serious weather, some of the worst flying we've ever dealt with personally. It took us, which should have been an hour flight, probably took us about 7 or 8 just to get into the landing zone. Once made about 4 different approaches trying to get in, we were able to get boots on the ground with the Air National Guard, Department of Public Safety for Texas, game wardens. And we decided to leave me on scene at Camp Mystic. That was kind of our main triage site we were trying to help out with. And we decided, hey, if we leave the rescue swimmer on scene, we'll have more space in our Dolphin MH-65. So based on that, I got on scene, boots on the ground at Camp Mystic. Kind of discovered I was the only person there as far as like first responders go. So yeah, I had about 200 kids mostly, all scared, terrified, cold, having probably the worst day of their life. And I just kind of needed to triage them, get them to a higher level of care, and get them off the flood zone with a lot of the US-60 Army helicopters.
Yeah, you always want to leave room on the Dolphin DH-65 or whatever he said. Impressive young guy, as young first responders and members of the military always are. Just so cool under pressure. The training kicks in, which is exactly what he said.
No, this is my first one. I haven't had any cases before. I've been a rescue swimmer for about a year, fully trained for about 6 months. So yeah, this is my first experience, but I really just kind of relied on the training we get. Coast Guard rescue swimmers get some of the highest level training in the world. So really just kind of relied on that, and that, just knowing that any of the rescue swimmers in the Coast Guard would have done the exact same, if not better than me. So
training is one thing, but this was the real deal.
Yeah, this was definitely the real deal. But I just remembered that, when I got on scene, there was, 200 kids looking to someone for some sort of comfort and safety. They don't really know what my experience is or my rank or my age. They just know, hey, this guy's a professional and he's here to help us. And I kind of had to live up to that standard. But yeah, the real heroes, I think, were the kids on the ground. Like, those guys are heroic, and they were dealing with some of the worst times of their lives, and they were staying strong, and that helped inspire me to kind of get in there and help them out.
Understated, to say the least. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. Imagine the scene that you're coming upon when you're a rescue swimmer on your first mission, and you drop down into Camp Mystic in some of the worst flying conditions, and we're getting more video of what those conditions actually were as those floodwaters raged. Daunting. And you come upon 200 kids, and you're the only guy out there. Obviously with the air support and other members of the Coast Guard working as a team, but it's just incredible. And he's credited with, as I think I said at the outset, saving 165 lives, he and his colleagues. Well, that's amongst all the sadness of the loss, obviously. There is the bright spot, as there almost always is with these human tragedies, whether inflicted upon people by Mother Nature or other people. There are people who act heroically. And Scott Ruskin and those members of the Coast Guard, as well as the other first responders, clearly did. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line. Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. Here's kind of an off-the-wall suggestion or idea. An engineering colleague of mine looked at the topography of the area. He's a geotech engineer, and he raised the idea of a possible dam failure. Nobody's mentioning the topography around the riverbed and the possibility of water retention ponds to collect water around the river, and the earthen containment for those retention ponds or an earthen dam failed, and that caused the 20-foot wave of water.
Well, I don't know, Bob. I'm not a civil engineer, but there's a good piece in Texas Monthly, because this is not some sort of area that has just sprung up in terms of its popularity. We talked about this yesterday. Some of the families that run the summer camps for the kids in this area of the country have been doing so through generations of their families. You're hearing from people who are now adults, middle-aged adults, talking about their experience in one camp or another, one summer camp or another, in that region of Texas. The Texas Monthly piece, Why Generations of Texans Flock to the Guadalupe River, which is the main river in question here. When the river takes you, don't fight it. My parents told me when I was about 9 years old. If it takes you under, focus your effort on holding your breath. It will push you back up. We would practice floating on our backs, feet downstream, the tiny giggling canoes moving diagonally across the Comel, Medina, San Marcos, and other lesser currents that made up the landscape of our gorgeous, dangerous childhoods until we were ready for something bigger. One of those bigger rivers was the Guadalupe, which runs from the Texas Hill Country to the Gulf of Mexico, crossing aquifers and collecting tributaries as it plows southeast with a depth millions of years in the making. Before there were roads or fences, the Guadalupe was already cutting its way through limestone in a slow choreography of water and stone. It's that clever pathway that makes the river so beautiful. It's that perseverance through rugged terrain that makes it so deadly. One geomorphologist at Texas State University said the whole landscape has basically been carved out by running water. And so, as we discussed with our first responder friend from California, who we talked about this a bit yesterday with, you have a lot of people who have a lot of history in this area. And this isn't the first time that flooding has occurred, but then there's the 1 in 100 years type event. And then the timing of the event, the other variables that are unique to any particular natural disaster. So I'm, hesitant to get beyond my core competency in civil engineering, isn't it? Number one. And number two, I just want to, encourage people to bring in a better understanding of the region and its history and the people that know it best before we make, wild assertions about who is or is not responsibility or what could or couldn't have been done to prevent this or minimize the impact, because I think it's complicated. Lewis in Brenham, Texas.
Good morning, Dan. Being in the military, I wanted to speak on what that young man was saying about his training. I had some talks about people. They were kind of saying some of the same things. But when you're in the military, you see on boot camp, they're screaming, they're yelling. What that is designed to is not to demoralize you, not to do anything. Part of it is to break you down as an individual, build you back up as a team. But the other part is what people don't understand is, depending on your job, in this case, him being a swimmer in dangerous conditions, it is meant to make him concentrate and focus, because in those type of situations, everything's going wrong. As an parent myself, if I was in that situation, I would be heartbroken. But you have to put those emotions aside. And as hard as it is, that is what the training does. It makes you focus on your mission, on helping people. And that's what it is. And it's a difficult thing to do. And for him to do it so quickly, some people, it takes a very long time to grasp and to control those emotions. So
thanks for the call, Lewis. I appreciate that. Yeah, and that unflappable aspect of the personality or the training that's instilled in you to be unflappable in those situations where it's chaotic and lives are on the line is how lives get saved. 100%. All right, coming up at 5:38, we'll delve into the more dismal aspect of the national conversation, if you will, about this unfolding tragedy in Texas. Now we check the headline.
Good morning. It's 68 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is nominating President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize.
He announced the nomination at a dinner at the White House, saying Trump is pursuing peace and security in many lands, especially in the Middle East.
I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well-deserved.
He told the president he had sent the letter to the Nobel Prize Committee and that he should win. Trump thanked the Israeli Prime Minister and said the nomination is very meaningful, coming from Netanyahu. I'm Mark Mayfield.
President Trump says that the U.S. will be sending more weapons to Ukraine.
He made the remarks at a White House dinner with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This comes after the administration had paused some weapons shipments to Ukraine over concerns the U.S. military stockpile was being depleted. Trump said the Ukrainians have to be able to defend themselves, and the U.S. would be sending primarily defensive weapons. As for the pause in weapons shipments, Trump said the U.S. needed to make sure we have enough for ourselves. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. When you're trying to find quality candidates, all the searching, screening, and interviewing can become a job itself. You need Indeed, the all-in-one platform that makes it easy to interview, screen, and hire quality people. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but
Mike Gallagher says it's time to get on board.
Be unified. Knock it off with the sideline nitpicking and complaining if you're on Team Trump. Because being on Team Trump means you're on Team USA. Being on Team USA benefits all Americans. Republicans, Democrats, independents. Things are getting better by the day.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
This is a special alert during this window replacement season. Don't get tricked by the cheapest offers and gimmicky ads. Now's the time to see and feel the difference of high-performance windows from Valdecas.
When it's time to consider new windows, siding, and doors for your home, you need to look no further. Sebastian Gorka here to tell you about Valdecas. Valdecas has been the trusted name chosen chosen by thousands of homeowners, and they should be your number one choice too. But what's really behind the name Valdecas? Over 25 years of a team dedicated to providing you with the best customer service experience and products that truly bring value to your home. They are a Pella Platinum Elite Status certified contractor for a reason. They have an A+ rating with the BBB, as well as high ratings and positive reviews on both Google and Houzz. Schedule your free in-house consultation at valdecas.com.
Ask about their exclusive manufacturer warranties and their 10-year workmanship guarantee.
Don't wait. Book today at valdecas.com. For the best in class, it's Valdecas.
This news alert is brought to you by Secure Controls Incorporated. With no signs of retail theft slowing down, organized retail crime now impacts the overall economy, with losses trending toward over $150 billion by 2026. It's important now more than ever to send a message to thieves. If you're a VP or Director of Loss Prevention or Asset Protection, you already are aware of these alarming statistics. How can you protect your inventory and get back to rising profitability? It only takes one click to secure.com. That's SE-KURE.com. With active anti-theft security solutions and products from Secure Controls, you're assured state-of-the-art protection of your merchandise. Secure will keep thieves second-guessing and provide peace of mind to your employees. Check out our products manufactured in the USA. From electronic sensors and alarms to mechanical and clothing security to customized solutions, we're the original inventors of anti-shoplifting products. Request our product catalog today at secure.com, SE-KURE.com, or call 800-250-9265.
Experience a luxurious summer when you visit Trump International Hotel and Towers, Chicago, a Forbes Travel Guide 5-star hotel. Take in stunning views of the Chicago skyline from the heart of the city, steps away from the iconic Magnificent Mile and the revitalized Riverwalk. Treat yourself to exquisite dining at Terra 16 Restaurant and Rebar Lounge, overlooking the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. Catch the Navy Pier fireworks display from Terra 16's patio on Wednesdays and Saturdays all summer long. Relax in immaculately designed suites that offer the utmost level of comfort. Refresh in the state-of-the-art spa featuring a 75-foot swimming pool, steam and sauna rooms, relaxation lounge, and more. The Trump Hotel Chicago offers sophistication and elegance to downtown Chicago and is a convenient travel destination for your summer getaway. Simply visit Trump Chicago online to make your reservations today and search offers to find the never settle summer stay. Book today.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be partly sunny with a late afternoon thunderstorm possible. The high will reach 85. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies and humidity with a chance of a thunderstorm. The low will be 69. Tomorrow will be partly sunny and humid with isolated thunderstorms in the afternoon. The high will be 84. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, talking about the Texas flooding, trying to get a better understanding of Texas Hill Country from afar, and what we know from those who spent a lot of time in the area where so much of the tragedy occurred in Kerr and Kendall counties. I was mentioning this piece. The woman's name is Becca McNeil. It's in Texas Monthly, Why Generations of Texans Flock to the Guadalupe River, which is the main river in question here. She writes, my husband and I grew up attending His Hill Ranch, a Christian camp on the Guadalupe River in Comfort. He started going in 1988, the year after 10 campers at the neighboring camp, Pot O' Gold Ranch, died after being washed away at the old Herman Sons Bridge. It started in 1992. The tragedy was still fresh in the minds of camp directors and staff. But eventually jitters wear off, a new generation takes over, and as time passes, the tug of war between safety and beauty feels less tight. That's well said. In Comfort, the Texas Department of Transportation eventually built a better bridge at the Herman Sons Crossing, but the allure of the river and our desire to be close to it remained. At one point over the July 4th weekend, the flash flood warning extended from Comfort, where my dad lives, to Canyon Lake, my mom's house. I never connected those two dots. My dad lives at the convergence where the floods are usually the worst. My mom is in the shadow of the dam built to stop them. Canyon Dam was constructed to contain the devastating flooding that happened throughout the 30s and 40s. It created a huge reservoir, Canyon Lake, and allowed neighboring New Braunfels, where I grew up, to boom as a manageable destination for water recreation. So this addressing in part the point that Bob from Buffalo Grove raised about whether or not there was a dam failure that was preventable. But Miss McNeil writes, as she's describing the topography for us, but even the dam can't fully tame the Guadalupe River. The increasing development below Canyon Lake means more impermeable surfaces that keep water from soaking into the ground. It's also where the warm, wet air of the coastal plain collides with the desertifying air of the hill country. Sudden thunderstorms drop buckets of rain as they move slowly, often stalling over the hard, dry ground of the Interstate 35 corridor. My freshman and senior years of high school, 1998 and 2002, each saw a, quote, 500-year flood, unquote, on the Guadalupe with a death toll to match. In fact, calling such a disaster a 500-year flood is dangerously misleading, according to one academic. Using century markers, 100, 200, 500, like I just used, is a statistically dramatic way of characterizing the probability of flood waters reaching a given level in any one year, but it does mean the buildings rebuilt in the 100-year flood plan will be safe for that long. Those of us who are drawn to the river have to remember that we are not its masters. We can have our sacred moments, but cannot forget the river does not answer to us. The kind of floodwaters that tore through central Texas are not the kinds you can survive by floating like a human canoe with your feet downstream, referencing what her mother or her parents had told her in terms of how to navigate the river when she was a 9-year-old growing up on it and attending camps like so many. So that's just a little bit of the reality of that region for those who don't know. And this could perhaps inform the conversations you have with, perhaps the less informed within your circles of communication and influence and interaction who are drawn inextricably to thinking about Trump anytime something bad anywhere in the world happens. What a dismal way to live life. What small-minded people, unfortunately, are out and about, and mainly on social media. So what we get in response to this human tragedy at the hands of Mother Nature, and we'll get into the details too, because you know what the rote, knee-jerk reaction is from the left. I'm sure many of you have already seen illustrations of it. One, if only government were bigger. There's instead of two weather forecasters at the local National Weather Service outpost that covers this region, there were 5, but there should have been more. How many more? I don't know, just more. 7, 10, 12, 24? What's the magic number? No idea, but just more. More government means more protection, means more lives are saved. It's just that easy. That's the flow chart, according to, those who believe that somehow people magically become superheroes when they take a step out of private citizen life and into a public official life. The folly of it all. Of course, completely ignoring the performance, the great majority of the time, of said public officials lording over said agencies and said public resources in charge of said emergency responses. So that's one. If government were only bigger, because these are people who believe that you can create heaven on earth through government. And so they come out from underneath their rocks anytime something like this happens to essentially argue that. The other piece of this, of course, is race. And it's the preternatural dishonesty of the race hustler. If it's mainly white adults and children who are victims, then, well, they either got what they deserved because they supported Trump and thus they didn't support big government, and thus the lack of big government is why this happened. That's the logic. Or you look at the response and say, oh, everybody's paying attention to this and everybody is focused on that, and look at the resource being brought to bear. And it would have been different if those were black and brown adults and children. And if it's black and brown adult children and you're getting the same or more attention and the same or more resources devoted to a response, like in Katrina, even if poorly managed up and down the authority structure, it's, well, if this is because they're black and brown. And you're seeing that right now. You're seeing that in these cases. I didn't get to it yesterday, but a former city of Houston appointee emphasized that these were mainly camps inhabited by white Christian conservatives. She, Sadie Perkins is her name, a former member of the Houston Food Insecurity Board, white-only conservative and Christian. I don't know that it's whites only. I don't believe that's the case, but she said, if you ain't white, you ain't right. You ain't getting in, you ain't going, period. They don't even have a token Asian. They don't have a token black. It's all white, white-only conservative Christian camp. That's what she said. And now, despite the fact that, Houston, big city, so certainly left of center, the mayor and the administration disavowing her comments, separating themselves from her comments for their own political viability. You have another professional, pediatrician, on the first part of what I mentioned. Her name is Dr. Christina Probst. She may be a medical doctor, but she's mainly a political operative. At least that seems to be our emphasis here. Imagine that, a woman of science, a pediatrician no less, focusing not about maybe how she can help, whether personally or through the network of medical professionals that she ostensibly knows and works with. May all the visitors, children, non-MAGA voters, and pets be safe and dry. Kerr County MAGA voted to gut FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they voted for. Bless their hearts. Woman of science. Yes. And of course, a healer. Do you want to send your kids to Dr. Christina Probst? And I know these are one-offs, but they're reflective. I mean, there's a lot more of more anonymous people. All you have to do is go on social media that are in this vein. It's DOGE. It's gutting, DOGE gutting the federal government, gutting, quote unquote, gutting FEMA, quote unquote. Not enough National Weather Service meteorologists on site. Trump hates meteorologists. Trump's fault. Not true. Doesn't matter. Big government, identitarian politics. And of course, the other piece you just heard, climate change. And since we're flat earthers denying science, Mother Nature has exacted her vengeance. And this is mostly MAGA country, so it's deserved. I'll tell you, boy, it takes a truly soulless person to review the stories coming out of Hill Country in Texas, to listen to some of the interviews, including of little boys and girls crying about their friends who were killed in the flooding, and say they got what they deserve. Boy, that takes a certain kind of individual, I got to tell you. And they're out there. The floods that swamped the Texas Hill Country over the weekend were not unexpected or unusual. The region has long been dubbed Flash Flood Alley because the topography turbocharges the effect of storms. Its dusty hills and limestone don't easily absorb precipitation, so runoff can rapidly rush into creeks and streams. That's exactly what the woman who wrote that piece for Texas Monthly was describing. Accounts of flood surges in the region date to the middle of the 19th century. Such events have happened every 10 to 20 years and typically during the summer. In 1987, a storm that dropped 11 inches of rain caused water levels to rise by some 30 feet and swept away 10 summer campers. This is also the story that was recounted in that Texas Monthly piece. Local officials say they are used to floods, but the severity this time caught them off guard. We know we get rains. We know the river rises, said a Kerr County judge, but nobody saw this coming. Local residents may also be desensitized to flood warnings because they are not uncommon. So for those who say, well, if you just put more flood warning sirens up, well, maybe. I don't know. Not dismissing it out of hand, but I don't think it's as obvious as people wanted to make it to be. It's not. That's the panacea, or even a mitigating agent. This from a Wall Street Journal op-ed on the topic. Floods are to be expected in this region of Texas, like wildfires in California and hurricanes on the Gulf Coast. Puts a premium on preparation. For the most part, state and local authorities seem to have improved their emergency management and preparation, including because of the increased ability to prognosticate about weather technology, I might add. The death rates from floods have dropped by about 2/3 from 1958 to 2018. American Enterprise Institute academic Roger Pelkey says, Congress could do like NTSB for natural disasters to maybe look at best practices and how to improve the response or on the back end and the preparation on the front. But he also said there's no indication that extreme precipitation and flash floodality in the U.S. overall has been increasing. No indication for those who want to cling to their climate change narrative. In fact, a reminder, the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change concluded in 2021 there, quote, is limited evidence and low agreement on observed climate change influences for river floods in North America. As the editorial board at the Journal opined, tragedies happen and not because the climate gods are taking retribution over human CO2 emissions. They really are neo-Luddites, these eco-supremacists, these climate change absolutists. They really are neo-Luddites. They're praying to false gods. But we need to sacrifice to the false gods to prevent them from smiting us with floods and other plagues. Roger in DeKalb, John Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, hey, that letter was a great distillation of the problem in Texas, but it's a problem all over the country where we continue to build in historically weather-prone, terrible areas. The Plainfield area in Illinois, perfect example. It's unbelievably built up now. And the flooding areas, the Box Canyon areas, even down there was only one road for that entire, I don't know how many, 10, 20, 30-mile run in and out of that area. And it's like there's a cost of living in paradise, and it's like you have to know those conditions, like that preparation. It's like, but something that happened down there, it had never happened in 100 years. That they had no idea it could coming, but it could come, and that we continue to build up these areas, especially residentially. Kentucky is another one. That was Tornado Alley down there where that has been ripping through all spring, and it's like. Those were new houses down there. They were not old houses that got just wrecked. Some of the ones along the river, and again, you build along a river, you take a chance. It doesn't matter how high up you are. So it's just, it's common sense, and we just have to be more careful about where we put our people sometimes.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Roger. Although, there is, nothing's 100%. I mean, obviously living inland versus living in, a flash flood alley or a hurricane zone, you reduce the chances significantly of impact in a catastrophic storm, of course. But same thing with wildfires and the brush and so forth. And all these topics are fair game as it pertains to land management and development and warning systems and preparation training and emergency response quality. It's all fair questions. What's not fair, and this is obvious to our listeners, but this should be communicated. What's not fair is to blame a singular politician that you don't like. It's so cheap. It's so intellectually dishonest. It's so beneath anyone who calls themselves an adult, at least, or a thinking person. You don't even need to be an adult. A thinking person. And then to play the government card, and even worse, the race card.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
So, what'd you call me over here to see, buddy?
Well, wait till you see the new set of wheels
Whoa, would you look at this garage floor? Wow, buddy, is this epoxy? So smooth and shiny. It looks like a showroom in here. Wow, looks easy to keep nice and clean, too.
Yeah, it is, but...
Man, I've been thinking about getting an epoxy coating. This is a sweet-looking garage floor.
You happen to notice my new Corvette?
Oh, that's cool, too.
Level 10 Coatings, Chicagoland's premier concrete coatings company. We can improve the look of your garage, basement, office, or outdoor space with customized concrete coating solutions. As Chicagoland's only certified Cimarron installer, we're setting industry standards with the most durable flooring solutions at highly competitive prices. Level 10 Coatings uses polyurea and polyaspartic coating, which is stronger than epoxy. Turn your ugly garage floor into a showroom floor. Now, with the summer special, just mention AM 560 to receive $500 off any project. Visit level10coatings.com.
Big or small, we coat them all. Level 10 Coatings, your custom concrete coating solution.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today. Online at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Or text the word app to 312-642-5600.
It's hard to find a nursing home where Christ-centered care is provided. For over 130 years, Lutheran Life has served the needs of seniors at the Lutheran Home in Arlington Heights. With chaplains on full-time duty, the Lutheran Home provides spiritual support as your loved ones confront the hard realities of aging. Our nurses will care for your bodies, and our chaplains will care for your souls. Find out how by visiting LutheranLifeCommunities.org today. That's LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage. AM 560, The Answer.
By the way, just a postscript on our discussion about the blame game, the political blame game in response to the Texas flooding. Trump was asked about this, the number of forecasters at the National Weather Service covering this region. He says, look, this is the National Weather Service I inherited from Biden, but I wouldn't blame Biden for what occurred with respect to the floods in Texas. Right. He wouldn't blame Biden, but so many of his detractors would blame him. Coming up at 6:06, Musk's new party. It is now 6 a.m., 560 WND.
Day 5 of a search and rescue operation in Texas. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. At least 104 deaths are confirmed in flash flooding in central Texas.
All the way until the sun went down yesterday, crews combing the sides of the devastated Guadalupe River looking for survivors and maybe a miracle. And yet recovery does continue on the edges of this as huge machinery is being brought in to excavate mud and trees. In the meantime, aid groups are on the ground and volunteers and residents who are reeling.
Fox Weather's Robert Ray in Kerrville, Texas. President Trump, during a meeting with Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu at the White House, says he thinks talks to end the war in Gaza are going along very well. Netanyahu says he's nominated Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts in the Middle East. 5 Israeli soldiers, meantime, are killed in a roadside bombing in Gaza.
The soldiers died when explosives detonated during an operation in the Beit Hanun area of northern Gaza. It's a part of the territory where Israeli forces have battled Hamas time and again. 888 Israeli service personnel have now died since the war began in late 2023.
It's Fox's Jonathan Savage. Elon Musk's spoken about plans for a new political party with former Democratic Party presidential candidate and New York City mayoral candidate Andrew Yang.
Yang co-founded the Forward Party in 2021. A source familiar with the conversation said that the two discussed Musk's push to create the America Party, which Musk aims to field some candidates in next year's midterm elections. Yang telling Fox News he is excited for anyone who wants to move on from the duopoly. Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
2 crew members are reported killed in a Houthi rebel attack on a Greek-operated cargo ship off the coast of Yemen, the first deaths in those attacks in more than a year. Another cargo ship sank on Sunday. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It's 68 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Authorities are releasing the identity of a man killed in a weekend wrong-way crash on the Edens in North suburban Glencoe. The deceased has been identified as 32-year-old Alejandro Fernandez. Police say that the collision happened yesterday morning in the northbound lanes of the Edens at Tower Road. Police say the crash involved a red Pontiac, a black Hyundai, and a white Jeep and a gray Tesla. One other person was taken to the hospital with injuries. Loved ones are remembering a Des Plaines woman and her 2 sons after they died last week while on vacation in Mexico. Relatives say that Brenda Correa, 14-year-old Leo, and 13-year-old Armando were killed in suspected carbon monoxide leak in the house in which they were staying. Their bodies can't be flown back to the U.S. because of an ongoing investigation. However, a memorial service will be held Saturday at a church in Des Plaines. Cook County Crime Stoppers are offering a $10,000 reward for information leading to arrests in the deadly mass shooting that happened in the River North neighborhood last week. Police say 4 people were killed and 14 more were wounded on Wednesday outside of Artis Restaurant and Lounge after someone in a passing vehicle opened fire. The crowd was leaving an album release party for the rapper Mellow Bucks. Investigators believe the shooting was a targeted attack. News is a service of Quick Delivery Service. Make Quick Delivery Service your personal ground crew. Anytime, anywhere, any place. When you need to move your shipment or freight, Quick Delivery will get it there. Get a quote in advance and eliminate any surprises at quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher explains what drives his show.
Now, am I oversimplifying this? Let's figure it out together. This is a caller-driven show. If you're new to what we do, I like you as our talking heads. I don't really like authors and guests, and I like Americans. That's what this show is about. Americans talking with Americans and trying to figure it all out together. I want to help.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Summer is all about making memories, right? Backyard barbecues, road trips, maybe finally getting around to that hiking trail you've been eyeballing. But if you're living with pain, those future memories can be stolen from you. So here's a thought. Call 1-800-4RELIEF and try Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free daily supplement designed to help your body fight pain. It's a doctor-developed formula made from natural ingredients. Best part? Relief Factor doesn't mask pain. It helps reduce or even eliminate it for good. Whether it's kayaking, running around with the little ones, or just chilling in a hammock, Relief Factor can help you feel better, move better, and do more of the things you love all summer long. So if you're ready to reclaim your summer, head over to ReliefFactor.com or give them a call at 1-800-4RELIEF. Do it now and get their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Mike Lindell and MyPillow employees want to thank my listeners for all your continued support. Mike has a passion to help get everyone the best sleep of their life. He didn't stop by creating the best pillow. He created the best bed sheets ever. Mike is offering the best deal on his Percale bed sheets. You can get a set for as low as $24.98. The MyPillow Percale sheets are breathable and have a cool, crisp feel. They have deep pockets to fit over any mattress. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you'll receive $100 in free digital gifts. Go to MyPillow.com now and use promo code LIBERTY to receive the MyPillow Percale sheets for as low as $24.98. Order now or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201, promo code LIBERTY.
From the Team Hogberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes, outbound 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 9 minutes. Outbound is about 15 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 12 minutes. Outbound 13 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 15 minutes. Outbound about 16 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, about 16 minutes. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins. This is a great time to bring in your scrap, gold jewelry, and sterling flatware. Cash or check offered on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be partly sunny with a late afternoon thunderstorm possible, reaching a high of 85. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies and humidity with a chance of a thunderstorm, dropping to a low of 69. Tomorrow, anticipate partly sunny conditions with humidity and a chance of afternoon thunderstorms in spots with a high of 84. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, Sundays, noon to 1. Learn more online at mwmfinancial.tax.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan here, and question is Elon Musk making a fool of himself with this latest announced gambit of the America Party, a third party to challenge what he still believes is the uniparty inside the Beltway, and clearly doesn't believe that Trump's stewardship at this point is enough to fulfill the promises that he believes were made as it pertains to reducing the size and scope and expense of government. His particular focus on debt and deficits, as you well know. But is he making a fool of himself launching this America Party and suggesting, among other things, I know you have to, make no small plans when you're a disruptor and an innovator, as Musk certainly is in spaces that he knows well. I'm not sure politics is one of those. They will lose their primary next year if it's the last thing I do on this earth. That was Musk's statement, promising to make sure every member of Congress who campaigned on reducing government spending but voted for the BBB loses in a primary in 2026. Well, first of all, everyone campaigns on reducing government spending. Maybe not categorically, but in some aspects of it. Everyone running for office is a fiscal conservative. Hadn't you heard? It's amazing the devastation these fiscal conservatives can impose on a balance sheet, isn't it? But the idea that you're going to, what is 218 House Republicans who voted for the BBB, he's going to knock them all out in primaries? I don't think so. I don't think so. Big dreams. And I know he has brought a lot of big dreams to life, but not in this space. But is he making a fool of himself by going Ross Perot 2.0. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. Trump thinks he is. Here was what Trump had to say about Musk's third party.
I think it's ridiculous to start a third party. We have a tremendous success with the Republican Party. The Democrats have lost their way, but it's always been a two-party system. And I think starting a third party just adds to confusion. It really seems to have been developed for two parties. Third parties have never worked. So he can have fun with it, but I think it's ridiculous.
Of course, I mean, I'm not discounting impact he could have. He's not going to turn over the House or the Senate. The America Party candidate is, certainly I don't know what he and Andrew Yang are cooking up, but would be a long shot for any substantial federal office, including, of course, the presidency. But I'm not. He's a talented individual with a lot of resources. And there's a lot of populist appeal to third-party candidates to say, you know, pox on both your houses, which is essentially what Trump said in 2016 when he ran. And he was right, and that's the point that Kimball makes, Roger Kimball, that is, friend of the show, in his piece over at The Spectator. Elon Musk is America's dumbest smart person. And he's not dumb in the sense that he is ignorant. He's just, a naif in this space, basically. And you see this happen a lot. Kimball writing, he doesn't seem to understand, Musk, that in a quasi-constitutional republic such as we inhabit, politics is conducted not by diktat, but by compromise. And even working while under such constraints, Trump has managed to accomplish an immense amount in his 6 months in office. Not everything everybody wants, not as fast as many wanted, including Musk, when it comes to reducing spending. But as Kimball writes, one of his biggest gripes is the United States is drowning in debt. He's right about that. But Trump's economic plan is working both to reduce the debt and bolster growth. Yeah, I mean, and economic plan, he's not limiting that to the BBB, Kimball, that is. Musk can rest easy, he writes. The American Party is not going to amount to much. The people it's attracted so far are redolent of its essential fatuousness. Mark Cuban has given his support, as has Anthony Scaramucci, Thomas Massey, and Mike Pence. I don't think that's going to be enough. But, this is not to ridicule Musk, generally speaking. As Kimball writes, I admire many things about Elon Musk, so it pains me to have to acknowledge that the Federalist Sean Davis is right when he describes the America Party as a dumb vanity project driven entirely by a bruised ego. Is that all it is? Or does there need to be some accountability that is imposed on MAGA? It's not going to come from the left, to live up to the promises that there is much less progress made, where there is much less progress being made, notably the big ticket items in government spending and spending on entitlements, the debt accumulation, rooting out all of the profligate spending, the so-called waste, fraud, and abuse. But more than that, in a melee kind of way, really rethinking the size and scope and expense of government and restructuring it accordingly. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line. Steve Bannon was a little bit more pointed than Roger Kimball or even President Trump in describing Musk's America Party idea, saying the following.
Elmo the Mook, formerly known as Elon Musk, Elmo the Mook, he's today in another smear, and this only a foreigner could do this. Think about it. He's got up on Twitter right now a poll about starting an America Party, a non-American starting an America Party. No, brother, you're not an American. You're a South African. And if we take enough time and prove the facts of that, you should be deported because it's a crime of what you did, among many.
You're making me choose between those comments and Elon Musk's ill-considered idea. It's difficult. Well, he is an American citizen. He's been an American citizen for 2 decades. So that's unfair and untrue. And when somebody emigrates to this country and becomes an American citizen, they're an American citizen. They're not a foreigner. And you shouldn't be deported because suggesting that you want to start another political party is not a crime, as far as I'm aware, is it? Yeah. The Bannon stuff is often quite tiresome. Elon Musk responding less substantively. The fat, drunken slob called Bannon will go back to prison, and this time for a long time. He has a lifetime of crime to pay for. Well, this is going nowhere fast between Elon and Bannon, just like it was going nowhere fast between Elon and Trump a few weeks ago. And then there's been some rapprochement, and now it seems to be the chasm between the two seems to be widening again. Chuck in Delavan, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer. Chuck.
Yeah, he ain't going nowhere with Pence, I'll tell you that. I want to know where he stands on gun control, and does he open carry? That would be nice. I would like to see that. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Chuck. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how far this goes. We've seen iterations of this before, including recently the effort of the No Labels Party. I mean, even more recently, RFK and Shanahan, a former Google wife, trying to do an independent thing this cycle until they folded in with Trump. And then before that, No Labels Party. And it was sort of the same cast of, or the same profile of dilettantes, not the same names, but the same profile of dilettantes as the Cubans and the Scaramucci's. It was, frankly, back in the day, it was Joe Scarborough as he was undergoing his Kafkaesque metamorphosis into MSNBC propagandist. He went from, conservative Republican from Florida to No Labels to Marxist propagandist. Anyway, I do want to get to something else I observed over my time off, just in terms of this whole merry-go-round of people that have accomplished a lot, or even if they haven't accomplished a lot, they've made a lot of money in one space, and then they want to bring it to politics, and it's a constant lament of mine, and convince themselves that they've thought a thought that nobody else has ever thought, that they have the turnkey solution to all the seemingly intractable problems facing the country and the world. The lack of humility about what you don't know. Elon Musk knows a lot about a lot of things, and he's an unbelievable entrepreneur. I don't think the comparisons to Edison are unwarranted. But he has not demonstrated a particular facility, certainly nothing like he has in those other spaces in the car business and, well, all those tech businesses that he started. And just have humility about what you don't know. It's the old, it's actually something I said about Bruce Rauner on the air and to many people. You come in, having been like a donor, which is why, frankly, I was skeptical of Trump when he first rode down the escalator. You come in having been a donor, having been adjacent to politics, you go to dinners, you're smart, you made a bunch of money. And so you think, you know what, I should be the guy. I'm smart, I'm talented. All these people are idiots. They don't have my credentials. They don't have my net worth. So I'll just come here and I'll be the guy. And as Roger Kimball rightly observed, we live in a quasi, it's a constitutional republic in theory, it's sort of a quasi in practice, and you don't govern by diktats, you have to compromise, something that, Trump has wrestled with from time to time, but he's a deal maker. So he has actually been more impressive than I thought he would be. in terms of understanding those dynamics. Probably because he's had so many interactions with government over the decades in the real estate business in New York, which is a pretty good training ground. But the idea you come in, there's no humility about what you don't know about personalities and interest groups and alignment and coalition building, because you've never necessarily had to do that in a corporate setting, because you've been the guy or part of the team as you ascended the corporate ladder to being the guy. Well, what if you're not part of the team, or you're a marginal player on the team when you think you should be a more substantial player? How do you navigate an environment that you're generally unfamiliar with, except on the margin, sort of the public facing aspects of this, or, closed door meetings with this politician or that politician trying to ply you for campaign cash? I mean, that's not understanding politics. And just to close the loop on Bruce Rauner, so it's like me coming into GTCR, his former private equity firm, or maybe still, I don't know if he's retired, and saying, I've got some ideas. I've been reading the Wall Street Journal. I watch CNBC. I have a basic understanding of corporate finance. I got some ideas. Why don't you give me a turn at the partner level? Obviously, I'd be laughed out of the room. But we don't laugh when Bruce Rauner, just use him as an example. There are many others. I've got another one. When he does the same thing running for governor in the state. And how did that turn out? It's times when it turns out very well if you surround yourself with the right team and if you have good instincts, you have good character, number one, and you have good people around you of character who have good instincts. So Glenn Youngkin, he made $1 bajillion, I think, at the Carlyle Group, wasn't it? And he's been a pretty good governor of Virginia, but he didn't get off to a fast start. And then there were people around him that sort of helped to steady him. And then there were circumstances that occurred on the ground in Virginia where Terry McAuliffe essentially undid himself with a part of his base, all of those Champaign socialists in places like Fairfax and Loudoun County. And then Youngkin, being a smart guy, then sort of started to figure out the paths that he needed to choose to advance the flag for his agenda, his party, and his own political ambitions. A little bit different, too, of knowing he's a one-termer. He can't run for re-election in Virginia. So there are examples of people doing it. Obviously, Trump is the most pronounced example. But the political graveyard is full of people who didn't make it, even when they did temporarily. I don't know if Elon Musk wants to put another tombstone, not his tombstone, but the America Party tombstone in that graveyard. But I think that's what he's tracking to do. Chris and Joliet.
Hi, good morning. I just view this guy now as worse than a disgruntled employee. It's like he thought he bought a president with his support, and if we had the $7,500 EV credit, that benefited him, wasn't taken out by the big beautiful bill, we probably wouldn't even be having this conversation.
I don't know about that. I don't think. Thanks for the call, Chris. I don't think that Musk is particularly motivated by money. Frankly, even by the performance of Tesla at this point, seems to have lost a bit of interest. I think it's concerning to Tesla's board. I don't think that's it. And he sort of publicly said, I don't care about the subsidies. I don't think that's what it was. I think he thought DOGE was going to be sort of revolution in a bottle. And as we talked about in this show, I mean, you had a 120-day appointment. It was always going to need to be something that was part of changing the culture over time. You're putting a marker down and you're building infrastructure that needs to be sustained by people that will come after Musk. And the idea that you were going to cut $2 trillion out of the $7 trillion spend, even $1 trillion. I mean, anybody who's been around knows how painstaking it is because you have the problem, public choice theory in economics, basic understanding. James Buchanan won a Nobel Prize for it. Elon Musk should be familiar with it. It's not beyond his comprehension. You have concentrated benefits and diffuse costs. This is how you build constituencies around ridiculous programs. It's a couple of pennies. Nobody wants to pay attention to that. Who cares about funding for PBS or NPR or Planned Parenthood? It's not even real money. It's only $500 million or $1 billion or $1.2 billion or $8 billion or $9 billion. And it's the context of a $7 trillion budget. Who cares? We have bigger fish to fry. But there are real vested interests that do care about it because it's their lifeblood. It's sometimes they happen to be wealthy patrons and campaign donors. So it's a lot more complicated than just saying something is so obviously wasteful, something is so obviously not the province, should not be the province of the government, so just eliminate it. Well, it's more complicated than that because you have to understand the incentive structure that's presented to the people that are making those purse string decisions. And Musk clearly didn't. I never thought he was going to get $1 trillion cut out of a budget in a single fiscal year. It was completely Pollyannish. But the DOGE thing is great. I mean, that's what Besson said essentially over the weekend on CNN, talking about Musk's new party, and he made this distinction to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. I mean, not a huge Musk fan interpersonally, as we have come to understand.
Look, the principles of DOGE were very popular. I think if you looked at the polling, Elon was not. So I believe that the boards of directors at his various companies wanted him to come back and run those companies, which he is better at than anyone. So I imagine that those board of directors did not like this announcement yesterday and will be encouraging him to focus on his business activities, not his political activities.
Well, I mean,
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Appreciate your time.
No, thank you. The principles of DOGE were popular. Elon Musk was not. Is a little unfair to Musk because he comes in with such high profile. He becomes a lightning rod along with Trump, and he took a lot of heat. And it should be dismissed. So he was just unpopular. No, the left would have kicked up the same dust, would have done the same performative street theater, the folk songs, the sit-ins, the weeping, the social media posts, even if Musk's name wasn't on it, because they're protecting their lifeblood, other people's money. So that would have happened anyway. Maybe it just was more convenient because you had such a high-profile billionaire at the tip of the spear. But it goes on. The OMB director, Russ Vought, is now the point person, as I understand it. And if he can do quietly what Musk was doing in a more splashy fashion, then great. It needs to continue. This is going to be a protracted battle where you gain territory, by the square mile, not the region. And Musk is, as a lot of innovators are, is a little impatient. And I think he probably is even more impatient when he feels like he's dealing with, groups of stultifying idiots, which he largely is. I mean, not his team, but I'm talking about the political class. Doesn't make this the next move on the chessboard, though. The America Party I'm talking about. Greg in Jefferson Park.
Hey, good morning, Dan. The razor-thin margins you got on all these elections, whether they're congressman, senate, or president, are just too thin. And I think with the amount of money and the level of dissent in this country with what's going on in Washington with both parties, I think that, is the American Party going to win the next presidential election? No. But, with the cash that he's got and the level of pissed offness that people have, I mean, I'm fed. Trump Well, everything he said, we got I'm going to stop these wars, and now we're bombing Iran and doing all this other stuff. And when's it end? I mean, we get a world war. That's going to be what, $5, $10, $15 trillion that we don't have. I mean, it never ends. Musk is he's a little wacky. There's no question about it. But with the dollars that he's got, and with the dollars that other guys got, people like Soros and other stuff. These people have made significant impacts on elections and everything else, and I think it's foolish to discount the level of dissent in this country. And with the kind of money that he's got, he's able to start something. And there's a real good chance that the Republicans are going to lose the midterms, and then it's one impeachment after another and more chaos.
Thanks for the call, Greg. I'm not discounting impact. I said actually the opposite. I'm discounting success, because success ostensibly is for Musk to do this America Party for the purposes of accomplishing what the Democrats and Republicans collectively cannot, that he wants to see accomplished, which is a reduction in annualized deficits leading to a reduction in overall debt. Well, he's not going to have the power to do that, because he's not going to have the electoral success to do that. In point of fact, what he would likely do more than anything, if he did put his resources behind such an effort at the presidential level or even at the senatorial, congressional level, is he would just throw more races to Democrats, the way that Ross Perot threw the presidency to Clinton in '92. And what does that accomplish? So it's not about impact, it's about success. What are the prospects of that? Jeff in Cal City.
Good morning, Dan. Yeah, I mean, for someone who's so rich and powerful, but it's seemingly politically ignorant, one of the things I always hate is when you're ideological, you can criticize everything, but what is your plan? So he came out with all of these things that he's for. He's such a brilliant rich guy. Did he even have a simulated budget? Did he say this would be my budget so that other people could pick it apart? No, he just is critical like everyone is, but they don't have a plan themselves.
Thanks for the call, Jeff. All right, coming up at 6:36, we turn our attention to violence. And in this prospect from two black older humans in the city of Chicago, after that lifeguard shot those two boys last week, you need black lifeguards for swimming pools in black neighborhoods. So now we should segregate lifeguards by race or the race of the people that they're protecting at pools around the city. We'll see if that makes sense to former Riverside Police Chief Tom Weitzel at 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 68 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560. The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. A number of medical organizations are suing Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. over his agency's handling over vaccine recommendations.
The suit was filed Monday in federal court. It comes after Kennedy fired all members of a vaccine panel and pulled recommendations that children and pregnant women get a COVID vaccine. The suit wants that recommendation reinstated, arguing that its removal will cost lives. Some of the groups involved in the suit include the American Public Health Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the American College of Physicians. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
Believe it or not, emergency room visits for tick bites are nearing record levels this summer across the country.
The CDC says July has already seen the highest number of tick-related ER visits in 8 years. People under 10 and over 70 years old have the highest rates of ER visits. The CDC adds the Northeast is reporting the most cases. I'm Brian Shook.
News is a service of Air Right Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off of any service, including inspections. Don't wait for a heat wave in that old air conditioner to break down. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt sees the president standing strong.
Look, they should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them. They should have made that deal. 60 days we talked about it, and in the end they decided not to do it, and now they wish they did it. And they want to meet, but it's a little late to meet, but they want to meet.
He's a developer. He's not going to offer them the same term sheet.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
They took everything. Our equipment, our supplies, it's all gone.
It's devastating. Every order is going to be delayed for months, and our customers are going to find someone else.
I don't know if we'll ever recover from this. We're already getting calls from clients checking on their orders.
Who knows how long it will take to get back on our feet? What were we thinking not upgrading our security?
Don't let a break-in devastate your business. Protect yourself with Goldilocks. They'll create a customized security solution for you. From commercial doors with keyless entry to 24/7 alarm monitoring, they have you covered. Learn more at GoldilocksInc.com and have a security technician conduct an on-site assessment of your business. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call Goldilocks now. 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicagoland's premier locksmith doors and security systems company since 1981.
The smallest detail needs to be right, and there's no reason it can't be right.
Ben and Arvid from Penny Mustard Furnishings.
He's so passionate about the quality of the furniture. It's important for that furniture to be built perfect. Every little detail matters if you're going to have people and a company and a culture where what we deliver to that customer is absolutely the best thing we can bring to that customer. Everything we do to get to that point that the customer never sees needs to be done to our best ability.
PennyMustard.com.
That shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Bad decisions limit future options. Make enough bad decisions and you'll destroy your life. Listen to The Flatline with Rick Hughes this Sunday morning at 7. The Flatline describes a main line of resistance in your soul built on God's Word. Listen this Sunday for inspiration, motivation, education, all without manipulation. That's The Flatline with Rick Hughes this Sunday morning at 7 on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
From the Team Hogberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes, outbound 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne interchange, 9 minutes. Outbound is about 15 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 12 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 15 minutes. Outbound, about 16 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne interchange, about 16 minutes. This report is sponsored by Aleve. Life doesn't wait, and neither should you. Aleve can help you deal with pain less throughout your day with just one pill. Aleve lasts up to 12 hours. Don't let those aches and pains hold you back from doing what's important to you. Use as directed. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now I'll check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be partly sunny with a late afternoon thunderstorm possible. The high will reach 85. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies and humidity with a chance of a thunderstorm. The low will be 69. Tomorrow will be partly sunny and humid with isolated thunderstorms in the afternoon. The high will be 84. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by The Real Story with Jeannie Ives, powered by Breakthrough Ideas, Sunday evening at 7 on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Habit. Over the weekend, Sunset Pool in Glen Ellen. Sunset Pool in Glen Ellen was the subject of a teen takeover post on social media. FYI, the Sunset Pool has been overwhelmed by out-of-town kids. Fireworks fired into pool. Police on site. Pool is now closed. It's a TikTok meetup takeover, according to police I just spoke to. Like what you see in the city. Like what you see in the city. Oh, the suburban honky. It's like what you see in the city. Like what you see on TV. And it's come to Glen Ellen. Oh, my gosh. Wait, you mean that something that happens 40 miles west of, or east of you could be visited upon you? Well, boy, who would have thunk it? Lots of drinking and weed in the parking lot. Hundreds and... I thought this drinking and weed in Glen Ellen. Who's opposed to marijuana legalization in Glen Ellen? I'm surprised that some of these Planned Parenthood docents weren't out there and didn't come out of their cobblestone homes to provide abortions on demand for the kids who were looking. Lots of drinking and weeds in parking lot. Hundreds and hundreds of kids, no joke. Pushed manager into the pool, letting off cherry bombs, causing panic as well. Picked up 2 kids, have another kid that was working at the pool. Boy, full evacuation was on at Sunset Pool in Glen Ellen. But why? I thought, I see those signs that no one is illegal and Black Lives Matter, because that's what we're talking about. If the subtext isn't obvious, that's what we're talking about. A bunch of kids from the city that don't look like the honky kids in Glen Ellen came to take over the pool. No, I'm not endorsing that. But the irony is rather delicious, wouldn't you say? No one is illegal. Hate has no home here. Black Lives Matter. Blah, 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 blah. But not at Sunset Pool. That's I say that because it's fashionable to say when I go get drunk on a Saturday afternoon in downtown Glen Ellen. I don't say that because I want these people at Sunset Pool, for goodness sakes. Heavens. And there was a flyer circulating, too. We're bringing 31st Street Beach to the burbs. Downtown Naperville Beach, Centennial Beach takeover. I guess this was for Saturday. 500 Jackson Avenue is where it started. And then after party, downtown Naperville takeover, bringing 31st Street Beach to the burbs. I mean, this is so played out anyway. I mean, reminds me, I'm old enough to remember when James Meeks bussed a bunch of kids from the South Side to New Trier High School to make the point about school funding inequities, when he should have been making a point about school choice. But regardless, they sort of have they have some of the right culpable parties, but they have the wrong approach. Because, I mean, the residents of Glen Ellen are definitely culpable. We can start there as a foundation of agreement. They're definitely culpable for what has happened in Chicagoland and Illinois. And I'm being 100% serious. But this is not the response. This is a temper tantrum. This is an immature response. Let's aim to be better. Speaking of pools, the lifeguard involved shooting, the lifeguard that has been charged with murder and attempted murder of 2 teenagers in Douglas Park late last month. So Douglas Park, West Side, Alderwoman Monique Scott and her brother, former Alderman Mike Scott, now Cook County Commissioner. I'm sure you got to lather up that pension. they said that this is years in the making. There's a certain way you have to deal with kids, said Alderhuman Scott, Monique Scott, that is. They're going to give you a hard time. You need to have an authoritative presence without disrespect. You've got to know how to talk to these kids and not demean them. Alderhuman Monique Scott said she got a call recently from a South Side park supervisor who reported that a Latino lifeguard had walked off the job after declaring that he can't work with these kinds of people, quote unquote. Alderman Monique Scott, just like you put black supervisors in black parks so you can deal with the residents, you should do the same with pools and invest in training. I said the same kids that pass through metal detectors on their way into the public schools are the same kids being monitored by park district staff with no metal detectors or security. Michael Scott has spent 5 years as the Douglas Park supervisor before becoming an area manager. Well, so he's a park district employee. He's an alderhuman. He's a Cook County commissioner. He's getting into Ted Lekowitz territory, all these government jobs, pensions. Michael Scott, he said if Douglas Park shooting is treated as an isolated incident, it will happen again because tensions between lifeguards and patrons have been brewing for years. Quote, if you don't have a strong lifeguard and the guard doesn't look like the community they're serving, that's a problem. Got to have black lifeguards for black patrons of the park district, and white for white and Latino for Latino. That's one approach, the identitarian approach. It's a special way to talk to kids. Now, I'm all for hiring people from the neighborhood for the neighborhood gigs, but to make this categorical the way that they're saying it, segregated employment, there's that pesky Civil Rights Act of 1964 that they celebrate, except when they don't want to employ it. I'm talking about the politicians across the racial spectrum. We already have the most de facto segregated city in the country. We have for a long time, and that's in part and parcel why some of these problems, including endemic violence, persist at the levels they do. And the response from the identitarian politicians is more of the same. For more on all this, we're pleased to be joined by Tom Weitzel, retired chief of police, Village of Riverside. Tom, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me. Good morning, Dan.
What do you think about the response from those, the one alderman and former alderman to the Douglas Park shooting? And not to mention that, I do, also the metal detectors. You know, we got metal detectors in the schools. You should have metal detectors at the pools. You should have metal detectors everywhere. They seem to be missing the forest for the twigs on what's going on the West Side, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, metal detectors, most of the people residents didn't even, their parents want the metal detectors. And remember, Chicago and the parents and the school board, they don't want the school resource officers. They got rid of the SROs in almost all the Chicago public schools, and that was planned, and that was an activist-driven, false narrative about what school resource officers do. Now that's gone; they don't have them. But the information that was put out of the alleged facts on why Chicago public schools should not have school resource officers was completely false.
Well, and the other thing here too. Speaking of, you have to have black lifeguards to be able to talk to black kids and so on and so forth. So only black people can talk to to black people. Well, then why are 75% of the murders in Chicago? Why are the black victims? Why are they black victims? And a majority of the arrested assailants in those murders also black perpetrators. So there's not a magic to this by race. It's about authority structure and consequences and, oh, by the way, parental involvement and those matters. But that's not a conversation, it seems to me, that they want to have. No,
for sure. This narrative or rhetoric that you have to represent your community maybe has some validity, but that's not true. I remember when there was a town near me, Maywood, when I was in Riverside. They were majority black, and they had hired 2 white officers, and the residents of Maywood actually protested at the village board. So because there were other African-American candidates that didn't get the job. Okay. So, to say that, you want to represent community only goes so far. I mean, and it just need qualified, educated people. I was asked recently, why can't the police stop these mass shootings? And they're like, you guys are doing nothing. I was asked by a friend of mine who was also in law enforcement. And I was like, hey, listen, how do the police in Chicago, for example, how do they prevent poverty? How do they lack of education? These are issues that are leading to these mass shootings, and no parenting, no parental responsibility, no accountability. You want the police to solve that? Well, the police can't solve those problems, and they're not equipped to solve those problems.
Yeah, I mean, the sort of referencing the nightclub shooting, that rap album release party shooting in River North the other week, and what are police supposed to do exactly if the rap artist, in quotation marks, in question? I don't know if you're a fan of Mellow Bucks or not. I'm not much of one, but I don't know if when she makes overtures on social media to some street gang, and the club owners are focused on their own diversity rather than on the safety of the establishment for their residents, and they're not working with police or giving anybody the heads up. I mean, how is it that Chicago police are supposed to monitor all these different entertainment venues on a rolling daily basis and all the social media traffic, and in addition to having a political class that not only doesn't want you around, but doesn't want you keeping information on, known habitual criminals, like the gang database and things like that. I mean, it's just an impossible job, and it's just police are an easy target.
For sure. And the gang database is long gone. And Chicago used to share that with the suburbs, and I could tell you for a fact because I used it. It was a great resource, and there was only factual information was put in there. But the mass shooting at this rap release party, I mean, they did a BYOB that they weren't supposed to do. They lied to the city on what the venue was going to host and what they were going to do. And when Chicago responded to that, think about this. I mean, they came with 18 people shot. There has to be 30, 40 squad cars there, the mass response and resources. And remember, they're there for hours at a time. That's all resources that are not being used anywhere else. So when you're calling 911, I mean, it's not like crime stops because they had this mass shooting. So the 911 calls are still coming in, and there's no more resources to go to other neighborhoods and to go to other calls. So these are large-scale events using large-scale police presence and resources that can be deployed nowhere else during that time.
The Glen Ellen pool takeover. As a former suburban police chief, what's your advice and counsel to suburban communities about things that circulate on social media that become real-world problems in some suburban communities?
Yeah, that's a huge problem because you can bet that they weren't prepared for that. Yes.
The 4th of July weekend, Perry Williams has this story.
At least 55 people were shot across the city since Friday night. 6 of those victims died. Local street pastor Donovan Price believes there's a recent increase of violence.
Sometimes it's about plain evil. And as long as people have guns, they're going to use them whenever they get angry. It's a tool of convenience.
No arrests have been made in any of the incidents. The totals are still lower than last year, when 19 people were killed and 87 others were wounded over the holiday weekend.
Many disagree with the pastor and believe that disarming the public does no good. In fact, you're disarming the law-abiding citizen. A criminal will find a gun no matter what because they're a criminal. State Senate President Don Harmon is disputing claims by the State Board of Elections that he took too much campaign dollars. The Chicago Tribune reports the Oak Park Democrat filed an appeal last week criticizing state election authorities for issuing nearly $10 million in penalties against Harmon's campaign fund over claims he accepted millions of dollars more in campaign contributions than allowed to under the law. The State Board of Elections says he took in over $4 million above contribution limits. Harmon championed the law, which aims to limit the impacts of big money in state politics. The news is a service of Fox Valley Coins. This is a great time to bring in your scrap gold jewelry and sterling flatware. Cash or check is offered on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. A check of the roadways coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Larry Elder knows why we haven't heard much from the left.
Polling that shows most Americans support what President Trump is doing, which is to prevent Iran from getting a nuke. Now, the reason Democrats haven't said anything is because they do not want to give any support to President Trump. It doesn't matter what he does, what he says, they're just not going to do it.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
They took everything. Our equipment, our supplies, it's all gone.
It's devastating. Every order is going to be delayed for months, and our customers are going to find someone else.
I don't know if we'll ever recover from this. We're already getting calls from clients checking on their orders.
Who knows how long it will take to get back on our feet? What were we thinking not upgrading our security?
Don't let a break-in devastate your business. Protect yourself with Goldilocks. They'll create a customized security solution for you. From commercial doors with keyless entry to 24/7 alarm monitoring, they have you covered. Learn more at GoldilocksInc.com and have a security technician conduct an on-site assessment of your business. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call Goldilocks now. 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicagoland's premier locksmith doors and security systems company since 1981.
Summer is all about making memories, right? Backyard barbecues, road trips, maybe finally getting around to that hiking trail you've been eyeballing. But if you're living with pain, those future memories can be stolen from you. So here's a thought. Call 1-800-4RELIEF and try Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free daily supplement designed to help your body fight pain. It's a doctor-developed formula made from natural ingredients. Best part? Relief Factor doesn't mask pain. It helps reduce or even eliminate it for good. Whether it's kayaking, running around with the little ones, or just chilling in a hammock, Relief Factor can help you feel better, move better, and do more of the things you love all summer long. So if you're ready to reclaim your summer, head over to ReliefFactor.com or give them a call at 1-800-4RELIEF. Do it now and get their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. Socialism is planting itself firmly in America, and the Democratic Party is its cultivator. The same week Tim Walz said socialism is nothing more than neighborliness, Kamala Harris chose him as her running mate. Today, the Democratic Party's largest rallies are headlined by self-described socialists. In New York City, an avowed socialist is on the path to becoming its next mayor. Zohran Mamdani is on record aping Marx and Lenin, saying his end goal is, quote, seizing the means of production, close quote. Saying this socialism is democratic is no self. The China and Cuban constitutions also say they are democratic socialist countries, and the USSR stood for itself as a socialist republic. Because our school textbooks refuse to teach the evils of Marx and socialism, but do not hesitate to teach the evils of National Socialism, and because the mainstream press, along with other educational outlets, venerate Marx, this is what you get. We can't shrug our shoulders. We can't say the Democrats' nurturing of socialism will keep them out of political pole position, for it may very well not.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 16 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, about 16 minutes. Outbound, about 18 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 21 minutes. Outbound, about 18 minutes. That's due to a crash. 2 right lanes are blocked between Damon and Sacramento. Now we do It is in the process of clearing. It's going to be slow on both sides. Just keep that in mind. Even slow on out to Jane Addams. Traffic is the surface of almostfreeteeth.com. What if you could save on average 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With the Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, it's possible. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be partly sunny with a late afternoon thunderstorm possible. The high will reach 85. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies and humidity with a chance of a thunderstorm. The low will be 69. Tomorrow will be partly sunny and humid with isolated thunderstorms in the afternoon. The high will be 84. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4 everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Dan. Ugh, keep doing that. The Epstein files. Transparency promised, transparency delivered? Question mark. Pam Bondi, ostensibly, Department of Justice, she is the Attorney General, offering a memo that the files relating to Epstein include a large volume of images of Epstein, images and videos of victims who are either minors or appear to be minors, and over 10,000 downloaded videos and images of illegal child sex abuse material and other pornography. Much of the material is subject to court-ordered sealing. Only a fraction of the material would have been aired publicly had Epstein gone to trial, as the seal served only to protect victims and did not expose any additional third parties to allegations of illegal wrongdoing. Through this review, we found no basis to revisit the disclosure of those materials and will not permit the release of child pornography. Fine, nobody's asking for that. Here's the money portion of the memo. The systematic review revealed no incriminating quote-unquote client list. There was also no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of the actions. We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. Consistent with prior disclosures, this review confirmed that Epstein harmed over 1,000 victims. Each suffered unique trauma. Sensitive information relating to these victims is intertwined throughout the materials. And that also will be redacted. It leaves one a bit unsatisfied, in part because these were the statements made by Trump administration officials back in February of this year, like Alina Habba, his legal counsel, and the acting U.S. attorney in New Jersey, who said this on Piers Morgan's show.
But in this case, in Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable. Let's talk about the reverse. I believe in accountability. So you have to now go through your process. Now, I won't say they're guilty until they go through their time in court. But again, now it's time for accountability. We have seen for so many years, Pierce, in this country, many investigations, subpoenas, testimonies in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a general frustration with accountability. We take it halfway, we don't take it home. And I really believe that now with Cash and Pam, there will be accountability.
Well, that's certainly indicated an expectation that more people would be put through the rigors of a criminal prosecution. And now the FBI and DOJ is saying, nope. Nope. Many in MAGA world, not happy. And in part for good reason. Robbie Starbuck, this new DOJ memo admits that there are countless victims of Epstein on video, but no client list or evidence of other rapists they can charge. It claims Epstein wasn't using videos as blackmail. So Epstein was trafficking these underage girls to nobody? Is Pam Bondi serious? No one who has followed this for years believes that everyone who went to Epstein's island was there just to catch some waves and relax. Again, no one believes this for very good reason. What Epstein and his ilk did was pure evil, and this memo attempts to just close the book on it like there's no one else involved. I can't pretend that's okay. The victims deserve better, and the public deserves better. Bondi just made it all worse with this memo. What a terrible, terrible idea it was to write this memo. It's also incredibly insulting to our intelligence. Robbie Starbuck. Yeah, there's some legitimate questions about that. I mean, the same questions that we've been asking for years now, which is, how is it that Epstein, well, first of all, since Epstein killed himself, that's the official ruling now from the Kash Patel-led FBI, Pam Bondi-led DOJ. But how is Ghislaine Maxwell convicted of sex trafficking, which she was, if she wasn't illegally trafficking girls to anyone? Is that what we're to believe? Caroline Levitt questioned about this during her briefing yesterday.
Caroline, the DOJ and FBI have now concluded there was no Jeffrey Epstein client list. What do you tell MAGA supporters who say they want anyone involved in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes to be held accountable?
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable. And I would argue this administration has done more to lock up bad guys than certainly the previous administration. And the Trump administration.
I'm sorry. I have to cut you off, Caroline. Don't do that. Don't do that. A specific question was asked about this specific case. Don't tell me about, your prosecutions of gangbangers or international drug traffickers or Tren de Aragua. I'm asking about the Epstein case, and you know I am. That was a painful attempt to pivot away. Don't do that. Because there are answers, or there are questions that demand answering, like answers on point. Because this is what Pam Bondi said back in February with John Roberts on Fox News.
I saw your appearance at CPAC with Ben and with Ted Cruz, and one of the things that you alluded to, and this is something Donald Trump has talked about, the DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, we'll check back with you.
And Peter Doocy checked back with Caroline Levitt on the topic.
So the FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars. They have an operation going on right now called Summer Heat, which has our murder rate trending
Don't do that. Don't do that. We're having an important conversation on a very specific case involving ostensibly some of the most powerful people on the planet who are still walking around. Because you'll remember there are accusations made specifically in the direction of Prince Andrew, in the direction of former President Bill Clinton, and others. You'll also remember you have victims. Virginia Giuffre is not one of them, unfortunately, but victims who are still alive, like Sarah Ransom, who had this to say on the occasion of Ghislaine Maxwell's sentencing several years back.
I have spent the last 17 years in my own prison for what she, Jeffrey, and all the co-conspirators did to me. I was raped repeatedly. I was raped 3 times a day sometimes. And I was not the only girl on that island. There was a constant stream of girls being raped over and over and over again. And yes, Ghislaine must die in prison because I've been in hell and back for the last 17 years.
And 27 for me.
I was 10 years old when Liz Stein was being trafficked. I was 10. That is how long the sex trafficking ring has been going on.
One theory about what happened to the information, the incriminating information, alleged incriminating information, if it exists, that pertains to other people not named Epstein or Maxwell, comes from former CIA officer John Kiriakou, who had this to say on Jesse Waters' program.
I'm not blaming the FBI director, Kash Patel, or the deputy director, Dan Bongino. I think that that layer beneath them, that's part of what we like to call the deep state, has taken this bull by the horns, and they've probably destroyed information. Look at what the CIA did in 1975 after Congress ordered that it release all of its files related to an operation called MK Ultra. The director of the CIA went back to headquarters and ordered everything to be destroyed. And in the end, only about 20% of the documents survived. We're still learning about the FBI's operations against Martin Luther King 55 years after the fact. So now we're supposed to believe that everybody's telling the truth, that there were no files, there were no dossiers. I'm sorry, I just don't buy it because I know how these people operate.
For more on this, someone else who knows how these people operate, James Gagliano is a retired FBI supervisory special agent and doctoral candidate in Homeland Security at St. John's University. Also served as the mayor of Village of Cornwall-on-Hudson in New York. Jim, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Dan, thanks for having me, brother. This is definitely a tough case, and you just laid it out, and it's certainly discomforting for a lot of folks, especially the victims. But I think there's a couple of levels of nuance here, and I know you always call me out on nuance, but I'm ready to get into it. I've got some facts, and I've got some things that might satisfy some folks, and I got some things that I think, unfortunately, are going to be left hanging, at least where things stand right now.
Okay, well, I mean, per what you heard from that former CIA agent, do you believe the story that was laid out in the Bondi memo? Why or why not?
I do. And here's why. First of all, this goes back to the old under-promise, overproduce. And I think what happened, and this also applies to FBI Director Kash Patel, Deputy Director of the FBI Dan Bongino, current Attorney General Pam Bondi, and U.S. Attorney in New Jersey, Alina Abba. The problem is they're still in campaign mode. So when Pam Bondi answers John Roberts, and you played the clip at the top of this, and she kind of uses words that, yes, the press secretary can then say, hey, look, she never said there was an Epstein client list. She says, I'm reviewing the papers, but she could have been more clear. And that's why, as an attorney general, Dan, you've got to adhere to precision of language. Now, I'll say this. Having been in the FBI for 25 years, as you mentioned in my bona fides, the old Benjamin Franklin quote applies, right? 3 people can keep a secret when 2 of them are dead. I get it regarding Martin Luther King. I get it regarding the Hoover days. But we are in vastly different modern times. For something like this to happen, and Dan, I'll just leave you with this little piece right here. If the FBI under Comey and Andrew McCabe had known that Donald Trump was on the Epstein client list, as has been alleged by people even like Elon Musk, if you don't think that information would not have been leaked to the press, you're not following along closely enough here. I don't believe in, and I'll just close with this. the Miami Herald is not exactly a conservative bastion of facts and opinion, but there's a really, really good, well-sourced reporter there by the name of Julie K. Brown. She's been following this Epstein deal since before anybody took notice or interest in this. And here's her quote on this. And I want to make sure I give you the exact quote. Those who have worked with the FBI on the case for decades say there is no evidence Epstein kept any ledger or list of clients who were involved with his sex trafficking operation, close quote. Doesn't mean these things didn't happen. Doesn't mean that powerful people did not take advantage of underage girls, a disgusting crime. But maybe there wasn't a list, as has been alleged, and maybe that's the problem, because where it comes to the law, it's not what you know, Dan, it's what you can prove.
I understand that, and that may be the case. I'm open-minded on the topic. I want to go where the facts lead, but the statements that have been made so far are not sufficient for me in terms of answering obvious questions. One of which has been posed by Robbie Starbuck, by me, by lots of people, which is, wait a second, thousands of girls, you heard from one of the victims, endless lines of girls and people exploiting those women, co-conspirators in addition to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. These are the kind of characterizations that are being made. In Bondi's own statement, 10,000 downloaded videos and images of child sex abuse material and so on and so forth. So, and we know from 2019 when the FBI raided Epstein's home in New York City, hidden safes with computer disks and stashes of footage. I need specifics. So you're telling me that all the information recovered, it is only, illegal pornographic images of victims, but it has no information, and there's no ability to take the information and to and what you know about Maxwell and Epstein and everything else that has been investigated and all that has been gathered over these many years, dating back to his first interaction with the law in West Palm and almost 20 years ago, that leads you in any other direction that suggests somebody else or somebody's else should be further investigated, that we're going to continue this. We don't have anything that we think is actionable at the moment, but we have enough that we're going to continue this investigation. I'm telling you what's in the file, and now we're going to take the information in the file and we're going to continue to go where a reasonable prosecutor would with the information they have. Like, for example, Prince Andrew and that catastrophic interview he did on live television, that guy doesn't scream target. Pictures of Bill Clinton getting massaged by a girl who has been identified, that doesn't drive you in any particular direction to a scratch below the surface or scratch deeper below the surface than it has been to this point. I just find that very hard to square with the size of the alleged human trafficking, that it's just Maxwell and Epstein and it ends there. That just completely strains the bounds of credulity.
Fair. And now let me be your counterbalance here. So what you're suggesting is that, very important people, and I use that in quotation marks, these high net worth people, these larger than life political figures like Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, across Republican and Democrat attorney generals and administrations. You're telling me right now, if there was not information available that could directly link these people to crimes, and Dan, here's the problem.
Well,
a flight manifest is not enough.
I agree. I agree.
And what famous person is going to consent to, hey, I'm Bill Clinton, God forbid, and I want you to film this, knowing that I want you to film it. Epstein probably filmed himself. Epstein probably enjoyed that and got off on it. Pedophiles do. That's their MO. But unless he did it surreptitiously and those tapes exist, Dan, how do you prove the crime?
No, I'm not. But I'm not saying. What I'm saying is The answers given so far are not comprehensive enough to address the obvious follow-up questions. And it's like Prince Andrew. Have you heard Melinda Gates answer questions about Bill's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein? Has anybody talked to Melinda Gates? Does she know something or a direction that may be interesting? These are powerful people that were on the list. I'm not accusing Bill Gates of anything. I'm not accusing Melinda Gates of knowing something that she doesn't know. I'm just saying there have been enough statements that are put in the public domain that raise reasonable suspicions that deserve follow-up. I'm not trying to smear anybody. I'm not saying because you were a friend of Epstein or because you were on his plane that you're a pedophile or that you raped anybody. But I'm just saying that all of these people, have they all been talked to? Have the victims been talked to and asked questions about, have they been able to identify anybody specifically that demands more follow-up? Maybe you don't have enough evidence to go to court with, but the investigation is ongoing. This is not being characterized as an ongoing investigation. We're not getting more detailed sort of answers, but maybe ultimately Bondi and Cash will come forward with more specific responses to these very legitimate, specific follow-ups. But that's what leaves this as very unsatisfying to me at this point.
Dan, you are the vox populi. You're the voice of the people with that, and I get it. And I feel your outrage. I feel your deep concerns. But again, let's look at the world in the Department of Justice, which has been around for a long time. And let's look at the world pre-Comey stepping out in front of a microphone and basically saying that we investigated Hillary Clinton and all those downloaded emails, classified information on a personal, computing device, and we decided that no reasonable prosecutor would bring charges here. Dan, people lost their minds, not because of the political implications. Yes, they were upset about that. But the Department of Justice and the FBI for eternity has not spoken about ongoing investigations unless and until charges are brought. So your question, Jimmy, have those people been spoken to? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know, but I'm going to caveat it with saying I have to assume that the way that these two institutions and agencies work, that of course that's happened. And again, Dan, if there was a smoking gun there would be charges brought. I was wholly dissatisfied. I feel like I went to a 5-star Michelin restaurant and got a small slider cheeseburger. I was wholly dissatisfied reading the memo. But the bottom line is, I understand that in their positions right now, if there's not enough evidence to bring charges, Dan,
I get
one
it.
of those situations.
I get
Dan
it.
Bongino doesn't have a podcast anymore. He can't just sling and hurl charges.
I agree.
He's got to actually back it up.
I agree. No, it's different. It's more complicated. I agree with that, which is why maybe more radio talk show hosts and podcasts should be more measured than they are. But I digress. But I would say this though. Because I just think this is the reality. Like the idea that you wouldn't have a non-aggression pact. That it's not possible to have a non-aggression pact. If you go after this guy on the list, we're going to go after that guy on the list. I mean, I've been in politics long enough to see non-aggression pacts between the two parties. When you're talking about some of the people who have been named in manifests or rumored.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying it's a possibility. I'm not asserting anything.
No.
But I mean, the idea that it's beyond the imagination with the sort of performance we've seen from these law enforcement agencies and intel agencies over the last several years, it's not beyond my imagination.
Not post-Me Too movement, Dan. I feel you. You're making the arguments that at a backyard barbecue with a couple of beers in me, I would make those same arguments. But understanding the way the process works from the inside. And again, I hate to continue to quote Ben Franklin, but it's that 3 people can keep a secret when 2 are dead. Something like this, because everybody loathes pedophilia, at least every sane human being loathes pedophilia. And that's not something like, hey, I know your campaign took funds you weren't entitled to, and I know that your campaign is corrupt. Let's just not bring that up. This is different. If they had the goods, Dan, I'm going to be on the record right now. If they had the goods, they would have brought a sweeping indictment. I just don't believe that the list exists. I believe there's a lot of dangling jumper cables that, yes, they're probably still looking at and trying to figure out a way to tie these people to crimes, but they can't come out and say, yeah, we suspect so-and-so, but we don't have enough to bring charges.
No, I mean, I agree. I understand that. I concede that point. Jim Gagliano, always a good conversation. Appreciate it. Retired FBI supervisory special agent, doctoral candidate in Homeland Security at St. John's University, former mayor of Village of Cornwall-on-Hudson. James Gagliano, thanks so much, as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Always enjoy the chat.
Me too. And Jim joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line. Coming up at 7:37, it is time for our weekly conversation, all things Illinois policy related with wirepoints.org's Ted Dabrowski. That's 7:37.
Good morning. It's 71 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is nominating President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize.
He announced the nomination at a dinner at the White House, saying Trump is pursuing peace and security in many lands, especially in the Middle East.
I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well-deserved.
He told the president he had sent the letter to the Nobel Prize Committee and that he should win. Trump thanked the Israeli prime minister and said the nomination is very meaningful, coming from Netanyahu. I'm Mark Mayfield.
President Trump says that the U.S. will be sending more weapons to Ukraine.
He made the remarks at a White House dinner with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This comes after the administration had paused some weapons shipments to Ukraine over concerns the U.S. military stockpile was being depleted. Trump said the Ukrainians have to be able to defend themselves, and the U.S. would be sending primarily defensive weapons. As for the pause in weapons shipments, Trump said the U.S. needed to make sure we have enough for ourselves. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher says it's time to get on board.
Be unified. Knock it off with the sideline nitpicking and complaining if you're on Team Trump. Because being on Team Trump means you're on Team USA. Being on Team USA benefits all Americans. Republicans, Democrats, independents. Things are getting better by the day.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's Reveille. With July 4th having just passed, now's a good time to reflect on our independence from tyranny. The Cato Institute ranks the United States 17th, tied with Lithuania and the United Kingdom, among countries for human freedom in their most recent worldwide report. In their state survey from 2023, Illinois ranked 39th overall, measuring both economic and personal freedom in a number of categories. There's another type of independence, though, Illinoisans should take stock of, and it's different than just measuring alcohol and tobacco laws or the regulatory environment. Independence should also account for fairness. In Illinois, however, picking winners and losers is a game, and it used to mean politicians deciding who gets a subsidy for their crony company. Now it means who doesn't have to pay legitimate fines based on economic status. As Fox 32 reported, a program designed to allow low-income Chicago residents to have their traffic fees waived has been made permanent with a new law. Under the program, eligible fees, fines, and costs due to traffic violations are waived in Cook County for people experiencing financial hardship. County judges determine who is granted that fee waiver. The program was established in 2021 with a sunset of 2024, but lawmakers voted to make the program permanent, and Governor Pritzker signed the bill into law last week. The Chicago lawmaker that sponsored the bill, Senator Cervantes, said, "We do not believe someone should be forced into homelessness because they can't afford to pay a speeding ticket." Setting aside the nonsense that a $100 speeding ticket leads to homelessness, the point is that in Illinois, some people have to play by the rules and others just don't. And that unfairness is legislated as if proper. A government that does this represents tyranny, not freedom, and promotes dependency, not independence and responsibility. I'm Jeannie Ives. Join me Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
People ask us all the time, when's the best time to replace an old air conditioner? Simple. Before it breaks. Because when it does, you know it'll be the hottest day of the year, and suddenly you're scrambling like hundreds of others to get help during a heat wave. At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we've seen it all. We know there's never a good time to be without AC, especially in Chicagoland, where the humidity can make 80 degrees feel like 100. At Air Right, our experienced technicians don't just work fast, they'll do it right. Browse through our more than 1,500 5-star Google reviews to see what our loyal customers love most about us. If it's been a while since your system was inspected, don't wait for a heat wave before having it checked out. And right now, AM 560 listeners receive $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right, doing it right since 1959.
Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and on shore. Discover more at Viking.com.
From the Team Hogberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 18 minutes, outbound 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne interchange, 20 minutes, outbound 23 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 24 minutes, outbound 25 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 23 minutes, outbound 19 minutes. This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's knows July 4th savings are worth celebrating. Right now, get 3 Scott's Naturescapes 1.5 cubic foot mulch bags for just $10. Hurry, these July 4th deals won't last. Valid through July 9th. Selection varies by location while supplies last. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be partly sunny with a late afternoon thunderstorm possible, reaching a high of 85. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies and humidity with a chance of a thunderstorm, dropping to a low of 69. Tomorrow, anticipate partly sunny conditions with humidity and a chance of afternoon thunderstorms in spots with a high of 84. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when you're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer, and all the dust that is being kicked up over Zoran Mamdani, the presumptive next mayor of New York, because he's a out and proud socialist. I mean, the question I had while I was away and sort of watching and reading this from afar, and all the ensuing hysteria about what this would mean for New York if he is not stopped in the general election. I was just thinking, I'm sorry, can someone point to me a difference between what Mamdani has proposed, including during his time on the city council, and what Mayor Brandon Johnson and Governor J.B. Pritzker have actually pursued in their offices? Not to mention the underlying philosophy as these clips of Mamdani are circulating. Have you listened to the clips of Brandon Johnson? And the slightly more polished but unmistakably similar in direction, the clips from Jelly Belly?
It comes out of an understanding that policing is something that does not create safety. And what we need to do is reinvest into things that are proven indicators and creators of safety. And the city council budget did not do that. And it's just mind-blowing.
Yeah. Policing is not consistent with safety. Violence is Just an affliction of the mind.
Oftentimes, we've even found as legislators, when we go into these courts, the term violent crime is even used when people are stealing packages. Violent crime is even used when people are accused of burglary and there happens to be a housing unit in that same dwelling. So violence is an artificial construction. And we have to be very clear that what is happening here with these district attorneys, that is violence. That is violence of the highest degree.
Prosecuting criminals is violence. People who commit crimes, not violence, you see. Oh, so what else is new? This guy's running the same rap that we've been hearing from the Black Lives Matter identitarians for the last half a decade. Oh, but you're just surprised he got this far? Why would you be? Have you taken a look around urban centers in this country, starting here in Chicago? There's a satirical column, and it's tough to do satire these days. Satirical column from Jay Newman. She is the author of Under Money, a novel. She offers some modest proposals for Mamdani. Lots of folks are whining that New York socialist Zoran Mamdani is making promises the city can't afford. I felt the same way until a thought hit me while I was standing in front of a Cezanne painting of apples and pears at the Metropolitan Museum of Art on the Upper East Side. If you're a Marxist and approaching stodgy civic institutions, appropriating, I should say, stodgy civic institutions is your goal, there's plenty of low-hanging fruit in a city like New York. Mr. Mamdani could start by picking the ripest melon of them all, the Met itself. The city owns the land the museum is built on, and the buildings that house its treasures. New York also pays the museum's heat, light, and power bills and a third of the cost of upkeep and security. A funky old lease governs the relationship between city and museum, but contracts are made to be broken. And anyway, the law should serve the people. Rent control as a form of redistributive justice is a central plank of Mr. Mamdani's platform, so canceling the Met's lease ought to be easy peasy. The Met comprises more than 2 million square feet of prime real estate. With a little creative renovation, it could become low-income housing. With a little imagination, the Great Hall with 3 domes soaring 75 feet high could become a 6-story housing project. She's joking. Brandon Johnson has $1 billion fund set up to do the very same thing, the actual thing, in the financial district in Chicago. And no one seems to be kicking up much dust about that. I know his approval rating's low, but it's not the emergency response that you're hearing from Bill Ackman and other quote unquote civic leaders in New York City. Really? If Mamdani is unelectable in New York City, why isn't Brandon Johnson and his ilk in Chicago and Illinois? Ted Dabrowski, President of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, joins us now. More on this topic. Ted?
Good morning, Dan. Good to see you back, and sorry to see Amy gone, but we continue on.
Well, please, if you can. I mean, am I missing something? I know Mamdani wants a $30 city minimum wage, but what's the difference between a $30 and a $20? And don't tell me $10. This is what happens when you can see the underlying arguments. Oh, of course I support a minimum wage. Oh, 15? No, okay, make it 20. Well, Mamdani going to make it 30. Right, why not?
Well, that's the whole thing. It becomes competition for who can dole out more faster. I mean, that's really the story, right? I mean, once Mamdani goes to 30, then of course Johnson has to compete with that, and there goes the race to the bottom. You know, it's fascinating. While you were gone, there was a screening of the movie Drop Dead City, which was about 1975 when New York City was effectively bankrupt, and it was funny. The city was giving out free community college, and they were giving out so much free stuff, and they weren't keeping up with their finances. The city had no idea how big of a hole it was in, and effectively became bankrupt. Now, of course, it's a different time, different maybe philosophy, but here you go again. You've got guys like Mamdani and Johnson who are extremists in all kinds of ways. Somehow they get away with it. They're persuadable, but what they are is they're destructive to these great cities.
City-owned grocery store Mamdani's proposing, and this is met with ridicule. I'm sorry, it's a little derivative of what Brandon Johnson's doing here. How about some credit where credit's due? The same thing with Pritzker. Pritzker and the General Assembly. I mean, they don't come to the table with clean hands. It's not like they're openly protesting these proposals and actual concrete steps in the direction of these proposals by Brandon Johnson. I mean, all the stuff that the Eastern Seaboard is now terrified of happening in New York City is happening in Chicago and Illinois.
Yeah, I think people just don't know it. It hasn't been, I guess, put out there enough. Yeah, if you look at what Pritzker and Johnson support, and especially Johnson, and Johnson's been much more direct, about like taking testing out of schools, the whole anti-policing, all that. Pritzker's not. Yeah, you've never heard Pritzker denounce things that Johnson says. Pritzker believes the same things. Pritzker's just a little bit more astute at how he messages and how he handles it. But they come from the same philosophical background. They want the same things. And this is why, Chicago's deeper in it, but Illinois is right behind with a lot of these laws that have been passed statewide.
Chicago Teachers Union won 4% raises plus additional salary increases for experienced and advanced degrees. Yeah, those will come in handy. The raises cover a whole school year, will cost the district more than $100 million. This is part of their new contract. And CPS is struggling to find the cash, but lest you worry, Chicago Board of Education President Sean Hardin, we have every intention of satisfying the obligation, and they're going to work very feverishly to make sure that they satisfy. We're going to find the $100 million somewhere. So, I mean, I hate to be too optimistic and suggest that it's finally starting to seize up, but that they're not feeling as flush as they once were. That seems to be clear.
Well, I think this, going back to this whole Johnson thing, I think the reason Johnson, let's say, got elected was because he got elected during the COVID stuff, right? And all that money was sloshing around, and he could make promises that he can't keep. The same thing that Mom Donnie's doing now. But now that the money's running out, I mean, you're starting to see these holes come up everywhere. $1 billion deficits in Chicago public schools, $1 billion deficits at the city. Same thing for CTA. So here comes the pressure, and it's going to get exciting. And it might take another 2 years to really build up, but it's here. And this is another fascinating thing that the Wall Street Journal commented on today. The city and Pritzker's got the bill on his desk. The legislature is giving pension sweeteners to police and fire in Chicago, and that pension fund is broke. It is broke. The retirement security for police and fire is disastrous. I'm not sure they'll get their money. And here you go. The legislature just increased their pensions, which of course means more tax hikes in Chicago, more mess at a time when the city doesn't have money. So it's piling on and piling on.
From that journal piece, Chicago's pensions, the worst funded of all major U.S. cities. Of the 10 lowest pension funding ratios in the nation, 7 are in Chicago, including police and fire. Of the 10 lowest pension funding ratios in America, 7 are in Chicago, including police and fire. But Bobby Martwick, that 20 pounds of dung stuffed in a 10-pound bag on the Northwest Side there, he's for police and fire. He's for first responders, Northwest Siders, 41st Warders, right? He's with you guys, really. So, and this is the racket. And unfortunately, we don't have enough communicators to provide the necessary pushback. Let me ask you a question, cops and firefighters. You think somebody is a backer of yours? You think somebody's an honorable person, an ally, when they make promises they know they cannot keep, but it will not be on them to keep it because they'll have gotten theirs and gotten out by that time? You think somebody who scams you like that, because that's what they're doing. You think somebody that scams you like that is your friend? I mean, it just needs the idea of making what you said, making promises you can't keep, making promises you know you can't keep. You know you can't keep is the key. I'm doing this to pander to people I need for now, but I don't really care what happens to their pensions, and I'm making it more inexorable that they're, as you said, they're not going to get their money. But that's somebody else's problem. That's their problem and some other politician's problem because I'll be gone.
And what's funny is that the promises just get more and more absurd, right? Now you see our budgets balloon to 50-something billion. There's so many promises in there on Medicaid, on food stamps, on pensions, on these salaries. It's blowing out of control. And this is exactly what happened. I'm happy. That documentary is fantastic. In terms of capturing what happened in the past for New York City, they made so many promises, And, it was maybe a little bit worse back then because they didn't really have good accounting. Nobody knew what was going on. I'd say we have the exact same problem now. We have horrible accounting. Nobody really knows what the debts are. And it's going to come. The whole issue is going to come, unless there's another federal bailout, and it won't happen under Trump. We're going to be in deep, deep trouble here, or we are in deep trouble.
And your response, we talked a little bit about this yesterday with C. Stephen Tucker, but your response to Pritzker's hue and cry over the work requirement for Medicaid that's contained in the federal legislation that he says will throw 330,000 people off the state's Medicaid rolls.
And people will die. That's been his big thing,
Right.
And I heard you guys talk about this. He's been saying it for a while. People will die, and I didn't realize that this was the talking point across the country, because we're all saying that now on Medicaid. I've looked at Medicaid a lot, and we'll put something out on it pretty soon. We ballooned by almost 1 million people. We went from something like 2.8 million people on Medicaid to 3.8 million people during COVID. And okay, understandable, lots of job loss, right? The government shut down everything, so people didn't have jobs. Okay, you put people temporarily on Medicaid. Well, now they don't want to take them off. And we're not talking about nobody wants to take off the mother who's got a sick child or someone who's disabled. Nobody's talking about that. What we're talking about are some 700,000 Illinoisans who are single, able-bodied. That means they're not disabled. They're able-bodied and single, working-age adults. And the whole point is just to make sure that they are working or trying to go to school or trying to get off of Medicaid. And if you think about it, anybody who cares about people should want people off Medicaid. That means they have a job again, they're working, they have meaning, they have a private sector job with health care. That's what we want. We want few people on Medicaid, not lots of people. But Governor Pritzker and guys like Johnson, they wear it as a badge of honor that the more people who are on Medicaid, the better they're doing, and it's the better that the governor's doing. Right? It's a screwed up mentality. You don't want that. You want high economic growth, a lot of prosperity, and people not on food stamps and Medicaid.
It is. It's a perversion. That's exactly right. Ted Dabrowski, president of WirePoints, wirepoints.org. Ted, thank you as always.
Thank you, guys.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Honey, we're not moving, but we gotta do something about this kitchen.
Funny you mention it. I just stopped by Forever Remodeling's new showroom in Niles. I saw over a dozen kitchen and bathroom layouts they designed. They even offered to stop by the house and give us a free in-home design consultation.
What'd you tell them?
That we're free today?
Visit foreverremodeling.com today. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com. Forever Remodeling, stress-free and high-quality remodeling.
When age-related health issues arise, don't just treat the body, treat the soul. For over 130 years, Lutheran Life has provided nonprofit, Christ-centered care for seniors. Arlington Heights, Ottawa, Bloomington, and Crown Point. 4 Lutheran Life communities to serve all your needs for assisted living, memory care, nursing, and rehab. Find out how by visiting LutheranLifeCommunities.org today. That's LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move.
We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com. Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has broken all-time historic records by hundreds of dollars an ounce. And unlike all other financial instruments used today, that historic record goes back thousands of years. In times like these, prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins and bars, but also those old coin and paper money collections. They're especially looking for the scarcer dates and higher grade coins. Take advantage of the record high market price and our huge demand now, whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out their worth. Fox Valley Coins is the place to go. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
What we love about our ability to help patients at QC Kinetics is seeing their pure delight at finally being able to do the things they enjoy without pain.
I had a patient start treatment with me. He wanted to be able to be active again and do some of his sports that he really enjoyed.
Dr. Ashley Caravelli, Chicago's medical director for QC Kinetics, treats patients with chronic joint pain using their body's own biologics. The goal? Get them back to living their best lives without surgery or harmful drugs.
He came back and he goes, what I wasn't expecting was the ability to play on the floor with my grandchildren. Even just saying it now, I have goosebumps because it's changing those small moments that you take for granted.
Don't let joint pain rob you of those moments. See if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments.
It just warms my heart to be able to help people live the life they want to live and get those small moments back.
Weekend appointments available. Call now. 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Too often, cremated remains are kept at home, then forgotten. At Queen of Heaven Cemetery in Hillside, we have your cremation options. Come visit our new cremation garden, see our beautiful granite columbariums, or view our elegant indoor glass front niches. These offer sacred, lasting ways to honor your loved one. If cremation is your choice, our memorialization is a forever option. Give them the dignity of a permanent resting place where they'll be remembered for generations. Visit us today, CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:08, ICE descends on L.A. and the mayor, Karen Bass, of course, tells them they must leave immediately. We'll talk about border and migrants and people not in the conversation who should be at 8:08. It is now 8 o'clock, AM 560 WIND.
The search continues this morning. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. 5 days since flash flooding hit central Texas. Crews are digging through debris looking for the dozens still missing. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick went to a flooded summer camp and spoke with someone who saved as many girls as he could.
The water went from his ankles to his knee to his neck so fast, and that the girls were holding on to him. And before he knew it, he was just pushed by the water.
At least 105 deaths now, we're told, are reported in Texas. President Trump says he's going to send more weapons to Ukraine.
Russian air assaults are getting heavier and more complex, and President Trump says Ukraine deserves more help.
We're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now.
This promise comes just days after the Pentagon announced it would hold back the supply of some air defense missiles out of concern U.S. stockpiles were too low. The Kremlin assessing what it describes as contradictory statements.
I'm not happy with President Putin at all.
President Trump spoke to the Russian leader last week, but reported they'd made no progress towards ending the war. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
The president holds a cabinet meeting this morning.
That's going to be the president's sixth cabinet meeting later on today, and it follows a dinner he had last night with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, where he surprised the president with a formal nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize.
I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee.
Two leaders celebrated the U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. President Trump revealing that talks with Iran may happen in the next week or so. He also floated the prospect of taking sanctions off Iran, of course, only at the right time, in order to facilitate rebuilding in a peaceful manner. He said the country is in a lot different place than it was just 2 weeks ago.
That's Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It's 74 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Authorities are releasing the identity of a man killed in a weekend wrong-way crash on the Edens in North suburban Glencoe. The deceased has been identified as 32-year-old Alejandro Fernandez. Police say that the collision happened yesterday morning in the northbound lanes of the Edens at Tower Road. Police say the crash involved a red Pontiac, a black Hyundai, and a white Jeep, and a gray Tesla. One other person was taken to the hospital with injuries. Loved ones are remembering a Des Plaines woman and her 2 sons after they died last week while on vacation in Mexico. Relatives say that Brenda Correa, 14-year-old Leo, and 13-year-old Armando were killed in suspected carbon monoxide leak in the house in which they were staying. Their bodies can't be flown back to the U.S. because of an ongoing investigation. However, a memorial service will be held Saturday at a church in Des Plaines. Cook County Crime Stoppers are offering a $10,000 reward for information leading to arrests in the deadly mass shooting that happened in the River North neighborhood last week. Police say 4 people were killed and 14 more were wounded on Wednesday outside of Artis Restaurant and Lounge after someone in a passing vehicle opened fire. The crowd was leaving an album release party for the rapper Mellow Bucks. Investigators believe the shooting was a targeted attack. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants with medical PPO insurance? It's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. I check the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Small business optimism cooled last month. The National Federation of Independent Business says its optimism index nudged lower in June to a reading of 98.6. Chief economist Bill Dunkelberg says taxes remain the top issue on Main Street, but many others are concerned about labor quality and high labor costs, and uncertainty remains elevated. Crude oil prices have been moderating. ExxonMobil says that will impact its earnings that come out August 1st. Its profit could see a hit of more than $1 billion from lower crude prices. Samsung is predicting its profit for the first half of the year will slump, down by half from year-ago numbers. Samsung says it's being impacted by U.S. trade restrictions on China. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola, invested in you.
Mike Gallagher explains what drives his show.
Now, am I oversimplifying this? Let's figure it out together. This is a caller-driven show. If you're new to what we do, I like you as our talking heads. I don't really like authors and guests, and I like Americans. That's what this show is about. Americans talking with Americans and trying to figure it all out together. I want to help.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
They took everything. Our equipment, our supplies, it's all gone.
It's devastating. Every order is going to be delayed for months, and our customers are going to find someone else.
I don't know if we'll ever recover from this. We're already getting calls from clients checking on their orders.
Who knows how long it will take to get back on our feet? What were we thinking not upgrading our security?
Don't let a break-in devastate your business. Protect yourself with Goldilocks. They'll create a customized security solution for you. From commercial doors with keyless entry to 24/7 alarm monitoring, they have you covered. Learn more at GoldilocksInc.com and have a security technician conduct an on-site assessment of your business. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call Goldilocks now. 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicagoland's premier locksmith doors and security systems company since 1981.
Mike Lindell and MyPillow employees want to thank my listeners for all your continued support. Mike has a passion to help get everyone the best sleep of their life. He didn't stop by creating the best pillow. He created the best bed sheets ever. Mike is offering the best deal on his Percale bed sheets. You can get a set for as low as $24.98. The MyPillow Percale sheets are breathable and have a cool, crisp feel. They have deep pockets to fit over any mattress. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you'll receive $100 in free digital gifts. Go to MyPillow.com now and use promo code LIBERTY to receive the MyPillow Percale sheets for as low as $24.98. Order now or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201, promo code LIBERTY.
Summer is all about making memories, right? Backyard barbecues, road trips, maybe finally getting around to that hiking trail you've been eyeballing. But if you're living with pain, those future memories can be stolen from you. So here's a thought. Call 1-800-4RELIEF and try Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free daily supplement designed to help your body fight pain. It's a doctor-developed formula made from natural ingredients. Best part? Relief Factor doesn't mask pain. It helps reduce or even eliminate it for good. Whether it's kayaking, running around with the little ones, or just chilling in a hammock, Relief Factor can help you feel better, move better, and do more of the things you love all summer long. So if you're ready to reclaim your summer, head over to ReliefFactor.com or give them a call at 1-800-4RELIEF. Do it now and get their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
From the Team Hogberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 18 minutes, outbound 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 20 minutes, outbound 23 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 24 minutes, outbound 25 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 23 minutes, outbound 19 minutes. Traffic is a service of Turnkey. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. For a limited time, Turnkey is offering all new customers their first month of service free, including Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, data backup, plus 24/7 help desk support. Visit turnkey.pro today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be partly sunny with a late afternoon thunderstorm possible. The high will reach 85. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies and humidity with a chance of a thunderstorm. The low will be 69. Tomorrow will be partly sunny and humid with isolated thunderstorms in the afternoon. The high will be 84. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Axios reporting at town halls in their districts and in one-on-one meetings with consultants and activists, Democratic members of Congress, neo-Marxists, members of Congress are facing a growing thrum of demands to break the rules, fight dirty, and, excuse me, not be afraid to get hurt, like physically hurt. Oh, now they want to. Now they're demanding breaking the rules. I love this idea that they have over the last decade in particular, but really several decades, 100 years. The left has been, the revolutionary left has been in the business of protecting and preserving constitutional norms, and now the gloves have to come off. Yeah. Now they're getting serious about this neo-Marxist revolution they seek to engineer, some more knowingly than others. Axios talking to all their friends, that would be the House Democratic Caucus, neo-Marxists. Speaking on a condition of anonymity because they're so courageous. The idea that we're going to save every norm and that we're not going to play Republicans' game, I don't think that's resonating with voters anymore, said one House Democrat. Another told Axios that there's a sense of fear and despair and anger among voters that puts us in a different position where we can't keep following the norms of decorum. Okay, you're on notice, America. The left is no longer going to be following the norms of decorum. These people, they are so up their own backsides. It's remarkable to listen to them talk about themselves and their fellow travelers. It goes beyond that. By the way, here's more evidence. Please enter this as Exhibit 42,607, Your Honor, that this is a neo-Marxist party, not a quote-unquote Democrat party, and the understanding of what that label meant from 10 years ago, much less 30 or 40. We've got people who are desperately wanting us to do something no matter what we say. They want more, said Representative Brad Schneider, the chair of the center-left New Democratic Coalition. When Brad Snyder is your point guy for a center-left coalition within your caucus, you know you're a neo-Marxist revolutionary party. It goes further. Quoting another House Democrat, some of them have suggested what we really need to do is be willing to get shot when that's a quote, when visiting ICE facilities or federal agencies. Just trying to bum rush ICE agents like LaMonica McIver in New Jersey, that's not enough. Or shouting at Kristi Noem at a press conference like that California senator, that's not enough. Our own base, this again, that same Democrat who is saying that his grassroots, right, their grassroots, this neo-Marxist grassroots, what we really need to do is be willing to get shot visiting ICE facilities. Got to take one for the team. Our own base is telling us that what we are doing is not good enough. There needs to be blood to grab the attention of the press and the public. A fourth House Democrat told Axios constituents have told them civility isn't working. Prepare for, quote, violence to fight to protect our democracy. There will be blood. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line, and text line. What should be the response? What should be the response to there will be blood, according to these cowardly members of the neo-Marxist caucus in the House talking about their constituents of whom they are deathly afraid, thus their anonymity? These politicians, something. It's not me, it's them. Spoken like a real leader. Well, I'll tell you, one of the responses should be to make sure that every person in America, every person who wants to pay attention, is paying attention, is aware of this, and what this dynamic within that party really is. As if the evidence of their activity in pursuit of political power over the last 5 years, pick a moral panic, any moral panic. Black Lives Matter, COVID, DOGE. Pick an issue that's climate change. And pick an issue that has been taken up in which the left doesn't use violence as the means to its political ends, at least as part of the means to its political ends. Pick one. So part of the response needs to be amplifying their own words. The other part of the response needs to be, in my view, something that I reference semi-regularly. The GOP is, and conservatives, often criticized as being poor storytellers. We're not poor storytellers. We're inconsistent storytellers. Inconsistent storytellers. I mentioned before, I'm sure everybody has seen one example of this advertising campaign or another. It's been going on for the last couple of years. The He Gets Us campaign that is being funded by some obviously wealthy families to push the idea that Jesus gets us, he gets all of us, to it's pushing religiosity, Christianity, promoting it, advocating for it, which is all fine. It's a little bit too gooey and sentimental for my tastes, but that's the kind of sustained campaign to drive a particular message and build community around content that conservatives and Republicans are not good at, in the sense that they are not consistent enough doing it. The permanent campaign, that phrase that's used often, but it's rarely lived up to on the right. Much more so the left. And that asymmetry is a problem, which is how they get away with saying things that are wildly untrue. But they say them enough, and it's enough of an emotional appeal that their storytelling can do wonders against our fact sharing, particularly when one is so much, the former is so much more ubiquitous than the latter, and over a longer period of time to really let it set in. And thinking about this, since the violence suggested by this anonymous House Democrat, somebody needs to get shot when visiting ICE facilities or federal agencies, but ICE is the flashpoint right now. So let's talk about immigration. One of the groups, when it comes to the conversation about immigration, that doesn't get enough attention, and this is the fault of people who believe in legal immigration, believe we're a nation of immigrants. Not that no one can be illegal, that's silliness, that empty-headedness, but that we want people, talented people from the world over, to come to this country to ply their trades and add to the greatness of the country. Simple concept. But it runs right into the narrative the left needs to tell to cover their lies and the grotesqueness of their positions, like open borders, is to say that conservatives are all xenophobes and they hate the foreigner, the stranger, they anti-immigration categorically. When people like Steve Bannon say Elon Musk is not a U.S. citizen and he should be deported, that doesn't help any. But let's not talk about what doesn't help. Let's talk about what does. There are millions of Jimmy Sonys in America. And it's nice when they present themselves for public consumption, but we could do a better job of helping to tell their stories or amplify their stories. It's their story. It's not art for us to tell, but for us to amplify. We can help. Something is missing from the national conversation about immigration. The story of those who came here the long way, through the front door. Forms in hand, hope in heart. I'm one of those people. My parents, born in India, brought me to America from France when I was 4. What followed were years of patient waiting and the quiet accumulation of documents to prove our worthiness to belong. First came the visa applications, then the green card paperwork for permanent residency. The forms arrived by mail. Precious documents we couldn't afford to miss. At one point, my father asked my mother to stay behind in Michigan for a month while he began a new job in Illinois in case immigration papers arrived at our old address. Such was the careful choreography of legal immigration, family life arranged around envelope delivery. My parents saved for the filing fees and studied hard for the citizenship test. They learned the founding fathers' names and Revolutionary War dates, memorized the Constitution's promises and the Bill of Rights' protections. They did this so that my brother and I could dream American dreams without looking over our shoulders. Their deliberate choice of America bred in me a deep love of this country. Those born here inherit America as they inherit eye color. Those who choose America know what they have gained. I also know the alternative, the countries we might have wound up in with their narrower horizons and limited possibilities. Coming to America changed the trajectory of my whole life, my whole family, now including my 10-year-old daughter. She is a third-generation American, belonging here as naturally as she breathes, knowing only this country is home. I hope to teach her that this is a gift, that her easy belonging rests on her grandparents' anxious years of waiting. Sound familiar out there to your families? Came over? First, second, third generation? This story has been lost in our immigration debates. When we discuss border security and enforcement, we often overlook the millions who came here legally, adhered to every rule, earned their place. We aren't the problem being debated. We're the solution that worked. Yet our voices are strangely absent. Perhaps it's because our story lacks drama. No dangerous river crossings or tearful separations. Our immigration story is one of paperwork and patience, tests taken and fees paid. It is bureaucratic rather than cinematic. That's a great line. This guy just wrote a book called The Founders. He's talking about tech in Silicon Valley, but I'm looking forward to read it. This is a well-written piece. It is bureaucratic rather than cinematic. Doesn't make for the sensationalism of the propagandists on the cable news desks, in other words. That's my words, not his. Just to close it out, those who choose America strengthen it. In our debate about who belongs, let's remember those who prove their belonging through patience, perseverance, and a profound love of this country. This is our home, not by accident, but by choice. Jimmy Soni, would you like to hear more from him? And Americans like him? I would. I would certainly elevate the discussion. And elevating the discussion at the same time as House Democrats, quote-unquote Democrats, are running scared of their own constituents, demanding that they try to instigate violence so they can be a quote-unquote victim of it for the purposes of advancing the political flag again for defunding ICE or what have you. Nice contrast, don't you think? To our benefit. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line. Mike in Deerfield.
Hi, Dan. I don't think either party has a monopoly on political violence.
Didn't say that.
When they say there will be blood, I'm not sure you got the future tense there, right? Maybe they were saying there was just blood. Some guy in Minnesota just killed a couple Democratic legislators.
Yeah.
And then we go back 8 years when some Democratic nutball shot up the Republican baseball team in Washington, and Steve Scalise got shot. So I don't think either side is violent free in this discussion.
I'm not saying they are. There are exceptions, but the consistency and scope of the violence. When, for example, you turn over your cities to the violent, as happened during the Black Lives Matter protests, mostly peaceful. When you abdicate a police precinct, as happened in Minnesota. Turnover City, as happened in Portland under Ted Wheeler. Chaz, autonomous zones in the middle of Seattle. That's a little bit different than a one-off. Yes, there are one-offs on both sides who commit acts of violence in misguided pursuit of political positions. But scope matters. Frequency of incidents matters. A philosophy at the influencer or director level, if you will, that includes violence as a tool in the toolbox. It's different. You saw that with the vandalism against Tesla and Tesla owners, such that Tesla owners who don't like Elon Musk and don't like Trump had to put bumper stickers on for fear of being cannibalized by their fellow travelers, just as these anonymous Democrats have to maintain their anonymity because of the same fear. Bit different. Robert Lyle.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, it's on both sides. Obviously, there could be that. So we're in this big civil war, and it's ongoing. I recognize it. You recognize it, and it's happening right now. And I honestly believe that it's the party that's in power. When the Democrats were in power, the Republicans hated all the stuff that they did, that they felt that they were coming against the Constitution, free speech, the right to bear arms. And so people coming in a country unvetted, taking the goods from the people that actually live here, and the fairness of it. So anyway, they were voted out. So we're in. And what happens is that, thank God it's the Republican Party. There's more sense, obviously, to what I believe and what we believe in our Constitution. And they're going to have a hard time, because if there's this actual violent civil war, I believe that the party that's in power, and that would be the Republican Party, you couldn't beat it, because they got the military and everything else. So it's a hardship probably for the Democrats to have to live under, not having the free reign. But I believe that that's true, that the Republican Party is the best party because it follows the Constitution more closely than anybody else.
Thanks for the call, Robert. Well, some people that are not waiting for their neo-Marxist representatives in Congress to act. While Americans celebrate Independence Day, a group of armed anti-enforcement militants ambushed law enforcement officers at a detention center south of Fort Worth. Acting U.S. Attorney Nancy Larson. It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officer. A group dressed in black body armor surrounded the ICE Prairie Land detention facility in Alvarado, Texas on Independence Day. Gunmen took position, ambushed a responding Alvarado police officer, shooting him in the neck. Suspects reportedly carried a flag that read, "Resist fascism, fight oligarchy." Flyers that said, "Fight ICE terror with class war," and, quote, "Free all political prisoners." Officers also recovered anarchist literature, Organizing for Attack, Insurrection, Anarchy. The acting U.S. Attorney, "Make no mistake, this was not a so-called peaceful protest. It was indeed an ambush. 10 suspects were charged with attempted murder of a federal officer and 3 counts of discharging a firearm during a violent crime." I thought violence was just a imaginary construction, according to the putative next mayor of New York City. Interesting. An 11th suspect was charged with obstruction of justice and conspiracy for allegedly attempting to destroy evidence. Those sorts of, revolutionary cells within the neo-Marxist movement, the neo-Marxist revolutionary movement. Grant in Rockford.
Good morning, Dan. Great to have you back. Long 2 weeks without you. But it seems the left is engaged in, we are engaged in what I call information warfare right now. They are trying to push it to a kinetic hot war. And right now they are losing when they do things like the ambush on the ICE facility. But they're just waiting for some little kid, some little Antifa twerp to catch a hot one in Portland, and then they can turn them into the next George Floyd. But I don't think the country's buying it anymore. I just don't think that's the case anymore.
Thanks for the call, Grant.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you over the age of 55 and want to secure your wealth with physical gold and silver? Do you want to own physical precious metals inside your retirement account, but don't know where to get started? We can help. We are Advantage Gold, the #1 customer-rated gold company in America with thousands of 5-star reviews. And for the past decade, we have been helping investors take their 401ks, IRAs, and retirement accounts and diversify them into physical precious metals like gold, silver, platinum, and palladium, tax-free and penalty-free. And we can help you too. Call us right now, 800-900-8000, and get our free 2025 Gold Investing Starter Kit, 100% free. It comes with a one-on-one masterclass on precious metals investing from one of our seasoned experts. Just call 800-900-8000 now and claim your free Gold Investing Starter Kit. Also learn how you might qualify for up to $10,000 in free gold and silver. Supplies are limited. Call us at 800-900-8000 or visit us at AdvantageGold.com. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Please consult your tax or financial advisor. Call us at 800-900-8000.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at mvpcfp.com. That's mvpcfp.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to mvpcfp.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer. AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:38 on Chicago's Morning Answer, Neil Pollack. He's the senior editor of the of the Spectator's U.S. edition, but he's also a Central Texas resident. We're going to talk about the flooding. We'll update you on the continued search and rescue efforts, but we'll also have to discuss, unfortunately, the politicization of the tragedy in Central Texas. That's at 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 74 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. A number of medical organizations are suing Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. over his agency's handling over vaccine recommendations.
The suit was filed Monday in federal court. It comes after Kennedy fired all members of a vaccine panel and pulled recommendations that children and pregnant women get a COVID vaccine. The suit wants that recommendation reinstated, arguing that its removal will cost lives. Some of the groups involved in the suit include the American Public Health Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the American College of Physicians. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
Believe it or not, emergency room visits for tick bites are nearing record levels this summer across the country.
The CDC says July has already seen the highest number of tick-related ER visits in 8 years. People under 10 and over 70 years old have the highest rates of ER visits. The CDC adds the Northeast is reporting the most cases. I'm Brian Shook.
News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants with medical PPO insurance? It's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM
Hugh Hewitt
560.
sees the president standing strong.
Look, they should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them. They should have made that deal. 60 days we talked about it, and in the end they decided not to do it, and now they wish they did it. And they want to meet, but it's a little late to meet, but they want to meet.
He's a developer. He's not going to offer them the same term sheet.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, it's Sean Thompson here for Level 10 Coating. You've been hearing the ads on AM 560 for months. Listeners love the product. Shiny new garage floors. And here's the thing. If you grow up in Chicago, you know a garage isn't just for parking cars. It's a sanctuary for yourself. Sometimes you could throw a kid's party there. Sometimes you can watch a game with your friends. But it doesn't have to be a cracked, dry, ugly cement floor with all dust on it. It can be a product you love. That's what Level 10 Coating delivers. Level 10 Coatings makes it someplace you'll want to be all the time. Level 10 Coatings, you can call now for a free quote at 855-510-2628. The number again, 855-510-2628. It's not just garage floors either. It's anywhere you want to make the cement feel more than cement at level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com.
Big or small, we coat them all. Level 10 Coatings, your custom concrete coating solution.
Hello, my name is Dr. Michael Huber, co-developer of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Did you know that the 23 natural ingredients in Virago are not only an immune enhancer, but also support and protect your heart, lungs, brain, and kidneys? These organs are negatively affected by numerous diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, and chronic inflammation. The natural ingredients in Virago, such as luteolin and fisetin, protect and improve the cognitive function in your brain. The uracilic acid in Virago protects and improves kidney functions, whereas quercetin protects and improves heart function. These are just a few of the natural ingredients that provide a synergistic effect. Virago, inspiring healthy choices.
Boost your immune system with Virago. Order your bottle of Virago today. Order online at myvirago.com and use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
Are you over the age of 55 and want to secure your wealth with physical gold and silver? Do you want to own physical precious metals inside your retirement account, but don't know where to get started? We can help. We are Advantage Gold, the #1 customer-rated gold company in America with thousands of 5-star reviews. And for the past decade, we have been helping investors take their 401ks, IRAs, and retirement accounts and diversify them into physical precious metals like gold, silver, platinum, and palladium, tax-free and penalty-free. And we can help you too. Call us right now, 800-900-8000, and get our free 2025 Gold Investing Starter Kit, 100% free. It comes with a one-on-one masterclass on precious metals investing from one of our seasoned experts. Just call 800-900-8000 now and claim your free Gold Investing Starter Kit. Also learn how you might qualify for up to $10,000 in free gold and silver. Supplies are limited. Call us at 800-900-8000 or visit us at AdvantageGold.com. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Please consult your tax or financial advisor. Call us at 800-900-8000.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
From the Team Hogberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 18 minutes, outbound 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 20 minutes, outbound 23 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 24 minutes, outbound 25 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 23 minutes, outbound 19 minutes. This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Blindster.com's 4th of July sale is your chance to save up to 50% site-wide on custom blinds, shades, and shutters. Don't miss out on these incredible savings deals that end on July 9th. Shop Blindster.com today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be partly sunny with a late afternoon thunderstorm possible, reaching a high of 85. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies and humidity with a chance of a thunderstorm, dropping to a low of 69. Tomorrow, anticipate partly sunny conditions with humidity and a chance of afternoon thunderstorms in spots with a high of 84. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer, and we began today's show talking about the ongoing efforts to search and rescue people from the flooding in Texas, particularly in Kerr County. Unfortunately, the death toll has risen to 104. But amid such tragedy, are some inspiring stories as well. A credit to people who were able to act swiftly to save lives so that the devastation wasn't worse. One of them, along with his colleagues in the Coast Guard, was a rescue swimmer whose name is Scott Ruskin. He's credited with saving 165 lives in Texas. And this is his first mission. He has been doing some interviews. And again, he is not the one taking the credit. He is talking about what he and his team did as first responders are wont to do.
The Coast Guard launched us and decided to send a rescue crew from Air Station Corpus Christi at about 6:30, 7 a.m. on Friday, the 4th of July. I just happened to be on the duty crew with Ian Hopper, Blair Rougefort, Seth Reeves, some of our crew members in the Coast Guard. And they sent us out. We kind of encountered some pretty serious weather, some of the worst flying we've ever dealt with personally. It took us, which should have been an hour flight, probably took us about 7 or 8. just to get into the landing zone. Once made about 4 different approaches trying to get in, we were able to get boots on the ground with the Air National Guard, Department of Public Safety for Texas, game wardens. And when we decided to leave me on scene at Camp Mystic, that was kind of our main triage site we were trying to help out with. And we decided, hey, if we leave the rescue swimmer on scene, we'll have more space in our Dolphin MH-65. So based on that, I got on scene, boots on the ground at Camp Mystic. Kind of discovered I was the only person there as far as like first responders go. So yeah, I had about 200 kids mostly, all scared, terrified, cold, having probably the worst day of their life, and I just kind of needed to triage them, get them to a higher level of care, and get them off the flood zone with a lot of the US-60 Army helicopters. No, this is my first one. I haven't had any cases before. I've been a rescue swimmer for about a year, fully trained for about 6 months. So yeah, this is my first experience, but I really just kind of relied on the training we get. Coast Guard rescue swimmers get some of the highest level training in the world. So really just kind of relied on that, and that, just knowing that any of the rescue swimmers in the Coast Guard would have done the exact same, if not better than me. So
training is one thing.
Yeah, this is definitely the real deal. But I just remembered that, when I got on scene, there was, 200 kids looking to someone for some sort of comfort and safety. They don't really know what my experience is or my rank or my age. They just know, hey, this guy's a professional and he's here to help us, and I kind of had to live up to that standard. But yeah, the real heroes, I think, were the kids on the ground. Like, those guys are heroic, and they were dealing with some of the worst times of their lives, and they were staying strong, and that helped inspire me to kind of get in there and help them out.
The flip side of that sort of offering, as people try to understand what happened and make as much sense of it as can be made, ask legitimate questions of authorities and responders and the infrastructure associated with trying to prepare for and respond to a natural disaster. Another way to do it is the way that George Stephanopoulos did. Immediately.
Maria, we're also learning that there were significant staffing shortfalls at the National Weather Service's offices in the region.
George, as of right now, the local county officials really didn't want to address that just yet. What they are telling us is they expected between 4 and 6 inches of rain. That is what weather experts told them, the National Weather Service as well. They also knew that in remote locations, they might get anywhere from 8 to 10 inches. But this amount of rain in such a short amount of time, it was very difficult to navigate. And when the Department of Homeland Security Secretary was here just yesterday, she acknowledged this was an issue. She was going to take these concerns to the White House as well and try and see if there was anything they could do to revamp the system. She says the president is committed to it.
I'll tell you what, it was very entertaining to watch that correspondent on the scene in Texas not wanting to take Stephanopoulos' bait, not wanting to be associated with blame Trump for what happened, which is where he was going. Stephanopoulos must still be smarting from that $15 million payout and apology that ABC had to offer President Trump, at least if they wanted to settle, which they did, to settle the defamation claim that was lodged by Trump against George Stephanopoulos and ABC. He must still be smarting. Now he's trying to blame a natural disaster like this on Trump, something Trump responded to in terms of this canard about the National Weather Service and staffing, saying, look, this is the National Weather Service I inherited from Biden, but I'm not blaming Biden for this either, because to do so would be silly. But, of course, being silly is not above George Stephanopoulos. For more on this, pleased to be joined by Neil Pollack, senior editor for The Spectator's U.S. edition, the author of 12 books of fiction and nonfiction, including Edge of Safety, a future tale of arbitrary lockdowns and the deeply caring citizens who love them, and a 3-time Jeopardy champion. That's impressive. He also lives in Central Texas. Neil Pollack, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for having me.
So you wrote a piece for The Spectator about this very issue I was mentioning at the end of the run-up here, which is the politicization of it. And it's the usual stuff. If only government were bigger. It's white Christian conservative children and families, as if somehow race matters in these situations. And then lastly, climate change. That's what almost immediately you get from the expected quarters, that cavalcade of responses.
Yeah, the first thing I saw when it became clear that a disaster was unfolding was that the Trump administration, DOGE, had cut budgets to the National Weather Service. So therefore, this hadn't been forecast properly, and it could have been prevented. But in fact, I mean, it just wasn't true. I mean, we were seeing warnings about this the day before it happened. Our local meteorologists in Austin, where I live, were warning that there was going to be heavy rainfall in central Texas and that flooding was not only possible but probable. And the National Weather Service itself issued alerts starting at sort of 1 p.m. on Thursday. And the problem is that this happened in the middle of the night. That the flooding really kind of came, it was crested, especially in Kerr County, like 5 a.m. And the National Weather Service didn't issue its big emergency until 1 a.m, and people were asleep. Is what it comes down to, But I gotta say too, like Kerr County, that's a Republican county. That's 75% voted for Trump in the last election, and those officials also in the press conference were also trying to blame the National Weather Service. So the blame was flying around over the weekend because people were still trying to figure out what was going on. But it definitely wasn't the fault of federal government budget cuts.
Right. And I mean, and climate change, again, I mean, given the history of the hill country in Texas that we know, and frankly, even the UN's own report on the negligible, indecipherable impact, if any, that quote unquote climate change has had on river flooding in North America. It's just another sort of opportunity for people to prosecute their own political hobby horses rather than just be a human being in responding to this.
Yeah, I wouldn't put this on climate change at all. I mean, the flood alley in Texas stretches from San Antonio. So there's a swath that goes from San Antonio through Austin up to Dallas, and flooding has been a problem in Texas since before it was Texas. I mean, it's simply a geologic fact. And as the area has grown more populated, it's become more deadly. But there were deadly floods in Kerr County in the 80s. There are records of it going back, way back, and I feel like the real issue here is that the state didn't have a good enough warning system in place. Kerr County had not sort of built up its infrastructure because it had been 40 years since there had been a flood magnitude. They just weren't prepared in terms of local warning systems and flood infrastructure. But that doesn't have anything to do with the weather, which periodically flares up. As it has throughout human history.
Well, the other thing too that has been mentioned, including by residents or those who have had experience when they were young on the Guadalupe River and in some of these summer camps, is the other thing is we do get flash flood warnings. But we get flash flood warnings a lot, so you become a bit inert to them. You don't the timing of the more significant ones being overnight when all these kids were asleep and kids and adults were asleep. That's one issue. But the other is you get a bit inert to them. I mean, it's another flash flood warning. We get it. It's going to rain and we're going to have some flooding, but you don't appreciate the magnitude in this instance.
Yeah, I mean, I think there needs to be some sort of a siren system, some kind of, I don't know. I mean, this is not my area of special expertise, but the state government had a chance to approve funding for sort of advanced warning systems for natural disasters this year. And in fact, a Republican representative from the Panhandle was proposing it because he'd seen his region devastated by fires last year, and he thought that maybe the state needs to upgrade it, and legislators didn't approve it. So I think that when it comes down to it, the fires in Los Angeles, the floods in Texas, the floods in North Carolina, these are geographically and politically diverse regions. Weather and natural disasters don't care who you voted for. They don't care, what your opinions are about various issues, right? Stuff happens, and there are certain things that I feel like people across the political spectrum need to just stop arguing about and come together and establish, guidelines and basic safety protocols. And I think we just have to put politics aside as much as we can in these situations.
Yeah. Neil Pollack, senior editor for the Spectator's U.S. edition, the author of 12 books of fiction and nonfiction, including Edge of Safety, A Future Tale of Arbitrary Lockdowns and the Deeply Caring Citizens Who Love Them, and a 3-time Jeopardy champion. What was your last final Jeopardy question? Or answer, I should say.
Well, I missed it because I had to lose my.
Well, that's what I figured.
I was just on Pop Culture Jeopardy on Amazon Prime.
Oh, you were?
In January, I played with a team, and we got it right. We didn't win the game, but we got it right. It was basically it was a question that asked where Beyonce was from, what city Beyonce was from, and that of course was Houston. And then the one I missed was about a city that the Danube flows through, and I wasn't aware of Bratislava at the time, but I'll never miss a question about Bratislava ever again.
Neil Pollack, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Dan.
He joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hey all, Jim Carr here. I am the owner of Carr Machine and Tool in Elk Grove Village and loyal customer of Signature Bank. As a second generation owner, I knew I had to shift from operating as an old school machine shop to what I can proudly say is now one of the fastest growing aerospace manufacturing facilities in the region. Signature Bank was there every step of the way through our expansion efforts, including financing our new state-of-the-art facility. Their valuable industry expertise and constant communication throughout the construction process made our vision possible. Many thanks to Signature Bank for supporting Carr Machine and Tool. You set the bar high for other banks.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's been over 2 years since Bobby Carpenter had regenerative treatments at QC Kinetics. He needed relief from knee pain, but he wanted to avoid surgery.
I thought I might have to have my knee scoped, had some injuries, some lingering pain from stuff that I had been dealing with from years of playing professional football, and things had kind of flared up again. I started talking to a friend of mine who's orthopedic, and he was like, well, try to avoid surgery if you can.
And you absolutely can avoid surgery. QC Kinetics provides patients with state-of-the-art regenerative treatments, orthobiologics from your own body that help heal and restore damaged aching joints. And we'll let Bobby tell you about that.
It was all of a sudden that one day, a couple months later, I was here, let's go jog, let's try to see what I could do. And the more I did, I was pain-free with it, and it was actually a pretty remarkable process.
Before going under the knife, see if you're a candidate for non-surgical joint pain treatments at QC Kinetics. Call them today.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you want to do business with a company that actually stands for something, switch to Pure Talk. I did. Sure, I appreciate being on America's most dependable 5G network with unlimited talk and text for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is Pure Talk's commitment to our military and to our skilled workforce. That matters to me. Save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
You're great at protecting your personal information. You might even use things like two-factor authentication and strong passwords. But as much as you try to control how your info's protected, there are other places that also have it, and they may not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity's stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed, or your money back. Save 40% your first year with my name Clay as the promo code at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Hey, AM 560 listeners, Jeff checking in again from JeffBuysYourHouse.com.
What I learned serving our great nation in the military is that every mission is unique and success starts with listening. For nearly 20 years, our veteran-led house buying team has taken the time to understand what matters most to each homeowner we serve. Every home has a story, and every seller has different needs. Whether you want a quick closing or need extra time to find your next place, we customize our approach around what works best for you. That's how we've earned hundreds of 5-star Google reviews and an A+ rating with the BBB, by putting relationships first. No repairs needed, no cleanout required, and you pick the closing date that works best for your schedule. At JeffBuysYourHouse.com, we're here to help you through the entire transition, not just the transaction. Are you ready to work with a local team that takes the time to understand your home selling needs? Sell your house to the trusted source by calling us today at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or JeffBuysYourHouse.com.
They took everything. Our equipment, our supplies, it's all gone.
It's devastating. Every order is going to be delayed for months, and our customers are going to find someone else.
I don't know if we'll ever recover from this. We're already getting calls from clients checking on their orders.
Who knows how long it will take to get back on our feet? What were we thinking not upgrading our security?
Don't let a break-in devastate your business. Protect yourself with Goldilocks. They'll create a customized security solution for you. From commercial doors with keyless entry to 24/7 alarm monitoring, they have you covered. Learn more at GoldilocksInc.com and have a security technician conduct an on-site assessment of your business. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call Goldilocks now. 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicagoland's premier locksmith doors and security systems company since 1981.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you want to do business with a company that actually stands for something, switch to Pure Talk. I did. Sure, I appreciate being on America's most dependable 5G network with unlimited talk and text for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is Pure Talk's commitment to our military and to our skilled workforce. That matters to me. Save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
You're great at protecting your personal information. You might even use things like two-factor authentication and strong passwords. But as much as you try to control how your info's protected, there are other places that also have it, and they may not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity's stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed, or your money back. Save 40% your first year with my name Clay as the promo code at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
AM 560, The Answer.
I'd be remiss if I didn't congratulate Joey Chestnut on his 17th win, the Nathan's Famous hot dog eating contest over the holiday weekend. 70 and a half dogs in, I think, 10 minutes, which is pretty impressive. An alert person on X, that would have cost Chestnut $634 at Wrigley Field. All right, thanks for joining us this morning. It is now time for the news. Fox News coming up with the headlines. AM 560 WIND Chicago.
A break from the rain in central Texas. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. Still a tough job, but the weather is cooperating more with